Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a positive review on Apple and Spotify. It really helps the podcast. And also, something big is coming. Well, it's big for me. I've been working on this. The Bloke team has been working on this for years. It is coming in the next few weeks, guys. I cannot wait to announce it over the next few weeks. We're shooting content for it over the next few days, but it is coming, so stay tuned. I really hope you like it because, as I said, we've been working on it for years. Stay tuned for the next few weeks. It's going to be really cool. But what a massive week of rugby league. Root, how you going, brother?
I'm going good, mate. I think, as a whole this weekend, when you consider the injuries and everything, I think it's arguably the most important week of the season.
What a weekend of footy where so much happened, though. Like, we're in the second last round, and there is still so much impact on the result of the season. I kind of feel like even last year, at this stage, most people are like, it's Brisbane Penrith. It's Brisbane Penrith. At the moment, Storm are probably out and out favourite, but I'd say this is the most open it's been in a very long time because although Storm have been good, they're still beatable. They're not just ploughing through teams at the moment.
We have a look at, the games coming this weekend. The Melbourne Storm are the only team that aren't playing for something this weekend. Crazy. Every other team's either playing for a home final or a top 4 or a top 8 berth. It's crazy.
Demi?
Can you ask me how I'm going, mate?
How you going, mate?
Yeah, no, I'm all right. Thanks, Kevin. I was at the Sharks and the Warriors game on Saturday night for SJ's farewell, and I was out there watching with 4 Kiwis, actually, so it was really cool. And I wanted to share a little chat that I had. I had the most niche rugby league chat in the history of rugby league chat with one of the Kiwis. The chat was around 90s Warriors player, Haitro Okasene's, the origins of his name. And the origins of his name are along the lines of that his grandfather was the first Samoan doctor in his village, and Haitro Okasene came from chemical elements. This all started off the back of Bunty Afoa chat. And I just sat there going, this is what I live for.
It's unreal.
And also you got a great Kiwi finish as well. It was just to top it all off.
It was such a cool night. It beat, obviously we'll get to it shortly, but we were right in front of where SJ had that final try assist, final moment of his career. What a way to go out. So it was a pretty special night.
From a purely entertainment perspective, the weekend, it had everything.
Yep.
It had the baby Storm doing what they did. It had SJ's final moments. It had, from a negative perspective, but it still is drama, obviously, all the injuries. An incredible weekend of rugby league. Alrighty, boys. Let's get into it, shall we? Don't forget, Beaks Bag. It's been a hit. The amount of comments, we really appreciate it, and we read every single one of them. So Beaks Bag, all you got to do is go to YouTube, leave a comment with your question, and then each week we pick out one question, and whoever gets picked gets a $50 Bloke gift voucher. That'll be later in the show that we do the question, but head in there now, leave the YouTube, leave your question, and we'll go through it next week. We really appreciate it. And as I said, like and subscribe on YouTube. We're gonna be not changing things up. We're gonna try to increase some maybe production value on YouTube in the near future. So stay tuned for that as well. Alrighty, it is time for Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. As you can hear, Hammy is not here. He has actually been suspended for the week because of grade 3 carry-on. He was videoed. Now, if he had done it without the bloke jacket on, I probably would have let it slide. But he was videoed in a bloke jacket doing TikTok dances. And I said, that is disgraceful. You brought bloke's name into the brand into disrepute. It's in the fine print of your contract, Hammy. So he has been stood down for the week. He will return next week, but it was a disgrace seeing him doing TikTok dances.
I spoke to Hammy last night. He actually said he was grateful for the ban. Extra time to prepare for the Spoon Bowl this week. He will be front and centre.
So he's been banned for the week, but he'll be back next week, guys, the great Hammy. But Face the Music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Actually had a decent weekend. Had a decent couple of weeks. So give us a follow on the feed. But let's get straight into it, shall we? Now, here are the results for the year. Actually, you know what? I'll do the results for the week, and then I'll do results for the year. Now, rest assured, I've had a few comments from people saying that, what about the punishments, whatever. This I can promise you. Whoever loses Face the Music will be suffering consequences. So do not fear. Whoever loses the season will be doing something that's going to hurt them. That's for sure. But let's get into it, shall we? This week, the results.
The results are Denon and Guru finished with 10 each. Guru, you said Panthers 13 plus, but you don't get an extra point for that. Timmy and myself on 9, and then Hammy had a stinker with 6.
So me and Guru on top. However, Guru incorrectly put in his bet of 13 plus. Therefore, I win. So that's a win for me again. Now, here is the results.
You look like a guy that needs it. I'll let you have it, all right?
Here are the results.
I've got a message from Hammy. Don't let Kim Jong Kim try and change the results.
Here are the results for the season, though, guys. At the moment, as it stands, anyone can win it and anyone can come last. That's how close the results are. So on top right now is Guru with 203 points. In second place is myself with 198 points. In third is Hammy with 194. In fourth is Timmy with 191. And last at the moment is Maddie with 190. So between first place and last place, there's a difference of 13 points. So genuinely, if you have two Barry Crockers, as we saw on the weekend, 10 and 6 points, that's 4 points. That's over 2 weeks, that's 8 points. You can genuinely jump all the way to the top over a couple of weeks. The race is not over, guys. The race is not over. It's a tight field. I'd love to know in the comment section, who do you reckon is going to come out strong towards the end? So that's the Face of Music brought to you by Sportsbet. The field is still tight, and I promise you guys, whoever loses, they are getting something bad done to them, that's for sure.
If I get done, I'm going full Donald Trump and demanding a recount. Because Matty lost about 8 weeks in a row mid-season.
Mate, don't question the great Hammy's mathematical skills. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Bloke Beer's Team of the Week, brought to you by Bloke Beer. Grab a case of Bloke Beer, Aussie spirit in a can. It's beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates and good times. At number 1, Kalen Ponga. Holy moly. I tell you what, a few weeks ago, we spoke about we need Kalen Ponga with his hands on the ball more. So what does he do? He gets his hands on the ball more, and he has easily the game of the season for him, in my opinion. He was incredible. On the wings, Sivo. And on the other wing is Sharp. Now, very, very closely, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak was very, very close to getting a start, but we just thought Sivo and Sharp got the nod ahead of him. In the centres, Herbie Farnworth and Garrick. What a game from Herbie against his old club. At 6, Dylan Brown. At 7, Sean Johnson, just pipping Luai. At 8, Tarpanet. 9, Wishart. 10, Paseka. Maybe the game of his career. Unbelievable game. At 11, Olakawatu. 12, Dylan Lucas. 13, Isaiah Yeo. What a year for Isaiah Yeo. Holy moly. At 14, Avarillo. 15, Sean Lane. 16, Moretti from the Eels. And 17, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. That is our Team of the Week, guys. Let us know what you think we should change, got different, what you would have as your Team of the Week. All right, it's time for our Hungriest Player, brought to you by our friends over at Menulog. The hungriest player for the round is Herbie Farnworth. That is right. Use code Herbie for free delivery. Herbie. And what's the minimum order? $30. Minimum order, $30. You get free delivery when you use code Herbie. I tell you what, he saved that game. It feels like he has been saving that game all season long. We've seen Herbie be pretty good. Now, a few weeks ago, Wayne Bennett, as Wayne Bennett does all the time, perfect time to just drop a little negative comment about a star player in the media. Basically comes out randomly and says Herbie Farnworth hasn't been playing as well as we know, especially at the start of the year, and basically he needs to be better. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, knowing probably the Broncos are coming up. Anyway, heading into the back end of the season, they need to make the 8. And Herbie Farnworth put the Broncos to the absolute sword. And there's been all this talk at the Broncos about should they re-sign, Stags, and then the Selwyn Cobbo re-signing chat. And Herbie Farnworth sitting there going, I was the man you should have re-signed all along. That's the message that I felt he was sending in that matchup. It was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. And he just showed you that, when you talk about elite top-tier centres, Herbie Farnworth absolutely still is an elite top-tier centre.
I was over in Perth a couple of weeks ago and watching the Dolphins do their captain's run and whatnot, and the sessions came to an end, Kempy, and all the players dispersed, sitting around doing their own thing. Herbie did about 15 minutes of extras just on his own, and it was one of the more intense little extra sessions I've seen. And I said to the Dolphins guys, like, is this sort of a regular thing? They went, yeah, he is just a total professional.
Yeah, ultimate professional. So hot too. It's just so hot.
I got a funny story for you. When I was over there, I was walking past and Herbie, I've never met Herbie before. I made eye contact with him and he gave me a big wave and a smile. And I thought, oh, it's nice. And I waved back to him. Then I thought to myself, I go, he definitely thinks I'm roasty and I gave him the hottest 100. That's definitely what's happened here.
What do you reckon, Timmy? How do you reckon Herbie's performance?
Oh, just that whole narrative, as you explained well, Kempy, against the Broncos, his old club, the game that, knocked Brisbane essentially out of the finals hunt, and for Herbie to be the key man in that, it was just rugby league poetry. And what a performance from Herbie. And we saw what he did in attack, but even going back through recent weeks, in his last 7 games, he hasn't missed a tackle in 5 of them. We knew that he was one of the best defensive centres in the competition. His attack this year has just gone to a new level as well. He's really quickly, putting his name up there as, one of the elite centres in the game. Top, what do we say, top 5? Top 3?
He is responsible for my worst take maybe in the history of my career as analysing rugby league. When I said that I thought he was a really good centre, but I don't know whether he had the ability to be a superstar centre. I said that 2 years ago, genuinely the worst take in the history of mankind, because he is that. Not only is he on the field, he's a superstar. He has a superstar look. He's a marquee player. This is his stats on the weekend: 2 tries, 2 try assists, 24 runs, 287 meters, 95 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 3 offloads, 16 tackles, 0 misses. That is outrageous from a centre. And also, it's not like when you look at these stats, you go, oh, okay, that means that all the good ball was around Herbie. His stats are basically an accumulation of everything that the Dolphins did well. The blokes around him, Hammer, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 205 metres. Then you go down to Trey Fuller, 21 runs, 202 metres, 12 tackle breaks. So it wasn't just everything revolved around Herbie. That was spread across multiple players, and he still had all those stats. It was an incredible... It's the performance of his career. I mean, you could argue the grand final was the performance of his career because of the meaning of it and the event that was that he was a part of. But when it just comes to stats and impact, performance of his career.
I'm not one to defend anyone on this panel. I'm more of a pile shit on kind of guy. But I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, I agree. I didn't see it coming. I just thought he'd be a good footballer. I didn't think he could get anywhere near these heights. And you've got to remember as well, he got moved to right centre. He's played left centre all year. He got moved to right centre against the Brisbane Broncos and just put on an absolute show.
Unbelievable. And as I said, the reality is this. A lot of Broncos will kind of shy away from it, but the reality is that there was been talk about re-signing Selwyn, talk about re-signing Katoni. Maybe it should have been Herbie.
Absolutely. In hindsight, it absolutely
and
should have been
it's hindsight,
Herbie.
obviously.
Yeah, and you look at it, and he has the Toto effect in that. All right, he had his big attacking moments and scored tries and did all that, the highlight reel stuff on the weekend. But it's just what he does out of yardage, the way he gets the set started. It's what Brian Toto does, where if Brian Toto doesn't score a try or have a line break, but he gets every set started on the front foot. Herbie's doing the same thing, but from centre, which is very rare because that's the role of the modern day winger. These big bustling wingers who, they run for 250 metres. Centres don't really do that.
No, it's just an incredible performance. And yes, we are talking in hindsight for sure, but it's with the current situation of the Broncos and how we've watched them this year, by God, they've missed Herbie. His runs coming out of their own end, sometimes you're watching the Broncos and you're going, you almost imagine Herbie taking the next hit up and going, all right, we've just sorted our set out again. We looked a bit shaky for those first 2 runs, but Herbie sorted us out. So an incredible game. And, if you work hard and you do what Herbie's done, you can go from a centre that a lot of us thought, remember 2 years ago where his passing game was almost non-existent. You catch a cold outside him. He's worked on that as well. You work hard, you can go from a really good centre that a lot of people think is just going to be almost a meter eater centre, get hit through heaps of work, to a superstar centre. And as I said, he has everything. What has been so impressive about the Dolphins is their recruitment and their ability. They got him on unders. They signed him way before he had his breakout year. They signed Flegler, and I know Flegler's been injured, but they signed Flegler way before he had his breakout year. Their recruitment's been incredible. So Herbie Farnworth, he's our hungriest player of the week, brought to you by Menulog. Use code Herbie for free delivery. Alrighty, it's time for So Hot right now, and I tell you what, oh shit. Oh man, I got a whiff of this one before in the green room with Ruin. It's fucking so hot. It's like just eating a red hot chili. That's how hot it is. Roo, hit us with your hot take.
All right, my hot take
Fucking hell.
is that the Roosters do not win another game this season. Take on South Sydney this week. I think the Bunnies have been treading water, just waiting for this game. I think they'll be up for it. I think the new combinations for the Roosters, depending on who they go for and whatnot, I think it's going to throw them out of whack quite a bit. I'm going to back the Bunnies to get up. What does that mean? Finals week 1, they'll have to go to Melbourne or Penrith.
Yep. Depending on other results, but it'll be out of those two, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to back them to lose that. And then I just think they're going to be out of gas coming up against another side the week after. So I'm going to have the Roosters to lose 3 on a trot, bow out of finals. Can be asked for hot. You never get lukewarm around here.
Oh my God. Do you, like, the Roosters fans and their pitchforks are going to absolutely skewer you, Roo. Absolutely
Bring it
skewer
on.
you.
Let's do it.
This
Holy.
segment was basically made for Roo, wasn't it? Some of the hottest takes out there.
I'm happy with it.
Oh, that's so hot right now. Look, I respectfully and strongly disagree. I actually think that, yes, of course, a team with Sam Walker and Brandon Smith is more dangerous heading into finals footy. However, I think that the loss of those two players is going to give something Trent Robinson, give the team to rally around. I think it's going to galvanise them. I think that, does this mean that I'm saying, oh, they're going to win the comp? Not necessarily, but I think that they are absolutely still in the fight, and I think they're a super, super dangerous side to play in finals footy because Sandon Smith has proven he has a lot of X factor. Not obviously the same as Sam Walker, but in saying that, like, we saw him last year do really well in the halves, and he's a year progressed further, a year older. It could be the perfect time for him to come into first grade. He is the person that is supposed to replace Luke Keary, so you could argue that it's only 3 months, or let's say 6 months earlier than initially planned. So the Roosters already had him coming in next year. I think they're still extremely, is it Zach Docker-Clay will come in, Connor Watson, still an extremely good person to put it in the hooking role. I think they're still a very dangerous team, and I think they'll win a couple games.
I'll tell you what is one thing that I would do if I was Trent Robinson. Now that Connor Watson's going to have to jump into 9, I'd be moving Bradley back to 13. I think they are going to need a little bit of that direction.
A little bit of ball playing through the middle.
Yeah.
Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I don't agree. I can kind of, I don't think it'll happen, but I can get around the potential straight sets from finals because how they adapt to some pretty significant personnel changes with the 9 and your 7 now gone, I can't see them losing to the Rabbitohs. I get where you're coming from, but it's very interesting which way Robbo goes with it because I think one of the most detrimental things that he could do, and I can see it happening, I don't think it will, but can you see him just going Joey Manu to 5'8"? Because you mentioned pre-show, Guru, but Billy Smith made a return on the weekend in New South Wales Cup. We know Robbo loves him. You've also got Suoliti, who's a chance to come back as well. So he goes, all right, we're flush for outside backs all of a sudden. We've got injuries in the spine. Do we put Manu to 5'8"? I think he is shooting himself in his foot. If he does, he might not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It's part of what I'm betting on. I think they're every chance to pick Manu at 5'8", and I just think it makes them too one-dimensional.
Oh, surely not. If they put Manu, I just think with Manu, it's like at the moment, unless he has a full preseason in a ball-playing role, he's just a natural ball runner. And I just don't know whether you're going to have enough ball movement around the ruck if he isn't number 6, especially with Keary. You know, he's in his last year. He doesn't really have the same, hasn't had the same impact with his ball playing as he has in the previous few years.
It was an incredible double blow as well, with obviously those two to go down, because I would have been more than happy for Connor Watson to go to 6.
Which he did at some time this year and went
killed
well.
it from memory.
Yeah.
And then you could still do like the Radley to 13 as the ball playing lock. But because they've lost obviously the 9 and the 7, it just makes it very tricky. But I've been so vocal on this. Every time Manu goes to fullback or 5'8", I just don't think it works, particularly 5'8", because you have to ball play. Like you can't.
Well, you saw yesterday, like
You saw it.
He was just ball running.
The second half, every time he got the ball in the back line in some pretty good positions, and the Raiders went, he's not passing it. Like, shut it down every single time.
Yeah.
So Trent Robinson didn't confirm that Sandon Smith would play in the press conference, but he did talk about him saying that we've developed him for many years and that he would have liked him to be 18th man tonight. So,
And yeah, he did say also we have to trust in our systems.
Yes.
So that's where my point around Sandon Smith was already the next guy up. I think Trent Robinson is just saying it's 6 months earlier than we expected. And so if heading into next year they were, the Roosters are in a premiership business, so they would feel that Sandon Smith can, in the halves can be, I know it's with Sam Walker and he's one out, not with Keary, but if they feel they can win with a premiership with him in the halves, surely they've looked at him enough at confidence to go, maybe not win the comp, but at least make a dent in the final series.
I think the thing that makes it hard is that now that Brandon Smith's injured too, that I think he would love to keep Connor Watson at 13. You got to make a decision where's Sandon going to be more important.
Also, Radley's no guarantee of playing too.
Yeah. I just also thought, boys, and I know this Raiders mob can get up for anyone on their day, but mate, the Raiders were down to 12 numerous times in that game, and the Roosters forwards just couldn't get the better of them still.
Yeah. What I see with the Roosters is this will get them something to rally around, and once they just get that high energy football back and that fast play of the balls, I just think they're going to be super dangerous to play in the finals series. There's going to be at least a game or two where they're just going to blow someone off the park, I reckon.
Yeah, while the injuries are just incredibly unlucky and the timing at round 26 is awful, at least they've got 1 week. Like, if this was to happen next week and they went in
That would be tough.
raw green into finals with new combinations, at least they can. Like, I still think it will be Sandon Smith, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he goes. Big stage, but they'll get a week to put these new combos together. It's not a lot of time, but he said they have played together before, Keary and Sandon, so time will tell. It makes the race just even more exciting, doesn't it?
What do you reckon about this week, Matty? I just reckon Souths have just got nothing to lose. That form goes out the window for this game every year. I reckon you're a really good shot.
Guru, I would love to agree. I hope they go in straight sets, obviously, and I hope South can beat him this week. I think Whiten's in doubt. Murray's not playing. I think they're facing an uphill battle this week, South, so I don't think they're going to win. I reckon they might jag a win in finals as well and probably get knocked out in the prelim, but as a South fan, I really hope you are right, Guru.
I wanted more from that.
There you go. So hot right now. The Roo, he's gone out on a limb there. I think the Roosters are going to be super dangerous still. Not obviously as dangerous, but super dangerous. The Roo reckons they're going to drop every game going forward. Woo, that'd be very, very... that'd be dramatic, especially with how well they've done to get themselves in a position. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Trent Robinson press conference. Wow. Okay. So Elliott Whitehead had his press conference first, and basically revealed that he went to say sorry and check on how Brandon Smith was, and Trent Robinson basically, had a go at him, is what Elliott Whitehead has said. Basically saying, this is what Elliott Whitehead said. I went over to check on Brandon, and Trent Robinson has had a go at me. I went to apologise, and he's turned on me. The way he did that, I thought that was out of order. And so Trent Robinson, being in the press conference, the journalist asked him about that. So he didn't reveal it. It was Elliott Whitehead who brought it to the public's attention. So Trent Robinson said, he came up and wanted to ask how Brandon was, and I just said it's too many times. The hit drop has been pretty common in his game for a long time, and I just said it's too many times and that's cost us a player. That was it. He said it was an accident, and I said, well, it's too many times. He's done it a lot in his career, so it's been pretty common, and if you go and have a look, I like Elliott. I've watched him since he played for Bradford and Catalans, but he's been pretty common. I know he's opened it up here, which is why we're talking about it, and I wouldn't want to usually talk to you guys about it, but he opened it up, and it's been really common in his game his whole career, which is just like, when I first saw it, like, mind blown. Like, that's a huge... that's a huge accusation. Like, a hip drop is a very malicious tackle. Like, it's one of the most malicious tackles that you can do, especially if it's done intentionally. And, having played rugby league, geez, like, I would love to think that no NRL player is intentionally hip dropping. Now, so obviously that starts the people going researching, like, does Elliott Whitehead have, because that's the claim. The claim is that he does it a lot. And I guess the implication by saying when Elliott Whitehead says it was an accident and is apologising and Trent Robinson says it's too many times, I guess the implication is maybe that it's intentional or it's lazy that he hasn't got it out of his game. But Matty's done some research on it.
Yeah, so it's a bit hard to find because they're called dangerous contacts, but apparently since the start of the 2022 season, Whitehead's been charged 3 times for tackles deemed to have hip drop mechanics, 2 in the second week of finals that year and once last year.
When you say 2 in the second week, you mean 2 in one game?
Yeah. Yep. That's what this article says. So that doesn't mean he got suspended for it, though. I think he's only been suspended, I believe, twice in the last 5 years, and one of them was for tripping. So, yeah.
So at the very least, at the very most, he's been just suspended once.
Suspended once and charged a couple
times.
And
it may not even be a hip drop. It's just dangerous contact.
Yeah.
But at the most, it would be once.
Yeah, and it could be, if it's a grade 1, maybe he got fined, but yeah, he's been charged a few times.
Wild. I can't believe how that all played out yesterday. Like, especially for a guy like him, Gempy, that's, and I'll probably let Tim talk more about it, but like, he's just been a legend of the Canberra Raiders. And for this to be the end of his career and how it's going to play out, I thought you summed up really well in the green room.
Yeah, well, I just think it's extremely poor areas from Trent Robinson on this one. I think he's really dropped the ball, and I think he's probably let his emotions get to him. Like, you absolutely feel for Trent Robinson. He's got a team that can win a premiership this year, and he loses major pieces to that puzzle. He loses the game, but he's upset, and then he comes out, and at the end of the day, it's a character assassination on Elliott Whitehead, who is one of the most reputable players in the NRL, who's done nothing but good things for this game. And then Robbo comes out and has a crack at him saying this has been a regular occurrence. Like, as you said, this will now, if he gets a suspension, probably his last game in the NRL, done. And then he's going to go back over the Super League, and people remember, remember like when he did that hip drop on, and that's what, it'll tarnish the end of his career somewhat because of what Trent Robbo's come out and said. And the way I look at it, it's like the hip drop came about 18 months ago. These blokes have been playing footy for 25 years with this exact same tackle technique, and it's never been a problem. No one knew about hip drops, all this sort of stuff. I find it so, like, it must be so difficult for these players, something they've done for 25 years, to completely have to change their tackle technique. And rightly so, the NRL are trying to get it out of the game, and I'm all for that. But little things like this are going to happen. There is no... To say Elliott Whitehead, not quote, but intentionally, or has done this over years, and it's a regularity in his game, I just think it's really poor form from Trent Robinson to suggest that in the heat of the moment after a loss. And I think it's so unfair on Elliott Whitehead, who's been, as I said, done nothing but good things for the game across his career.
Yeah, there's multiple layers to this because, like, look, I feel like if Robbo felt that way, it's one thing to feel that way and have that conversation with Elliott Whitehead. Even when Elliott Whitehead went public with it, and probably went public with it to get on the front foot, assuming that he's going to get smashed in the press conference by Robinson because his main player has just basically done his ACL. I feel like Robbo, even the fact that happened, and I don't agree with him basically implying that Elliott Whitehead, I guess, it can only mean two things: that he's intentionally does it, or that it becomes irrelevant because he's too lazy because it's happened for so long that he just like doesn't care that it happens in his game. I feel like at the very least Robbo should have said, like, look, yep, some words were exchanged, but I know Elliott Whitehead's come out and said his piece. I'll have a chat to Elliott about my feelings, but to double down on it publicly, I just have to think that he was so devastated with what's happened at the moment. He loses Rudley, loses Cheese, and then he loses Sam Walker. Surely it's just the emotions got the better of him, because I just can't for the life of me, like, this is rugby league. Like, this is if we were to start impugning players that have a dodgy record, like half the friggin' NRL would be, you'd start pointing fingers at everyone. It's disappointing. It really is disappointing. And I have to think Robbo's just been caught up in the moment and just said it because it sucks.
And what upsets me, and look, I know we're not oracles, and I have all the time in the world for Robbo. I respect him. I love him. But if they win this game by 2 points, does that comment get said? I don't think so. Yeah,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's definitely disappointing. I'm a huge fan of Robbo. I think we all who isn't a fan of Robbo? He is. There's so much, like, you go and listen to a podcast. He's done a podcast with Boris that was just like so enlightening. All the stuff you hear him talk, it's incredible. He's such an insightful leader. So it doesn't mean that he has to be perfect. Like, you don't have to agree with everything that someone does. So it's like, I'm a huge fan of Robbo, but this is one where I just think that I just can't see how would Elliot Whitehead, one of the best blokes in rugby league, is going out and intentionally hip dropping blokes. Especially that what's so surprising for me is, mate, look, if you wanted to give that a penalty, even 10 in the bin, okay, I guess. That happens so quickly. How could you possibly think there was any intent there? Like, he would have to be like a master contortionist to know how to technically land on his ankle or knee in the split second. And that's another thing. I have to think that Robbo hasn't had time to look at the replay. Like, I just can't see how you can get intent from that play at all.
And on top of it, like, you saw the genuine concern from Elliot Whitehead as soon as it happened. He went, shit, like, cheese, you okay, sort of thing. And then he's gone out of his way after the game to check that he's okay. How's he doing in that? It's like, again, it was an accident. It happened. It's unfortunate, but he went out of his way to see if this bloke's all right.
Yeah, it'd be a very, like, if it was a part of his game, very weird areas to go. Like, I hip drop a lot, but then I'm really apologetic after it. Like, I just, yeah. So it's disappointing. I can understand Robinson's, like, emotion at the time because it's such a devastating game.
Do you think he feels the same about Rory Hargreaves when he cleans someone across the forehead at once every 3 games? Like, is it the same thing? Oh, it's a part of his game and it's got to be rubbed out. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's aggressive game. So if you want to start looking for blokes in teams that are suspended a lot, you can look to the Roosters, you can look to the Broncos, you can look to, like, you know what I mean. Like, every team has blokes that ride the line.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I really disappointing. Especially, I think the most disappointing thing about it all is, like, if Elliot Whitehead was still in the NRL for a few more years, it would almost be like a non-event. The thing that sucks is, like, that's basically his last a week or so in the NRL.
And as you say, like, there's guys that ride the line in the NRL. If I was to make a list of the top 100 of those, Elliot Whitehead doesn't get a start.
I don't watch Elliot Whitehead.
With that brush, like, it's.
I never watch Elliot Whitehead and say that he rides the line that much.
I'll tell you what I thought was just crazy. Like, I think Ricky Stewart found out about it live in the press conference by his body language. It's a fucking miracle Ricky didn't go off.
You know what? It's almost like lucky. It seems like, anyway, lucky he didn't find out about it before the press conference.
Yeah,
he probably would have fucking gone in there. And so, extremely disappointing. Me personally, I've watched Elliot Whitehead for, I don't know, let's say 10 years now. I've never looked at his game and said he plays any more dirty or grubby than any other back rower. I really don't. If anything, I've always looked at him as a stalwart kind of a player. Like,
I'll tell you what, too. He had an absolute blinder yesterday. Outside of those
brain explosion, kicking the ball.
Yeah, that was rogue. But, like, his actual game itself, he was incredible yesterday.
Take the Simbins out, he was team of the week. Like, he scored and set up the first 2 tries for the Raiders.
Yeah. So
the Roosters have had the most charges of any team in the last 12 months with 28.
Yeah. And to be clear, that's not us implying that the Roosters do things intentionally at all. Like, then we'd just be just as bad by sitting here saying, oh, the Roosters were. It's just saying that, like, if you want to look at any team, you're going to find things. And I think that I don't think anyone in the Roosters goes out to intentionally hurt one. And as an NRL player, I've never played with anyone. You'd almost have to be a psychopath to go out there trying to hip drop blokes. Like, that's psychopath areas. It's rugby league. It's an aggressive, violent game, and accidents happen in a contact game. So, look, Elliot Whitehead seemed to just basically brush it off and say, all right, whatever then. But, yeah, I chalk it up. Me being a fan of Robbo, I chalk it up to devastating afternoon. You know, he has worked his absolute backside off to get his team in premiership threat. And the emotions gotten the better of him. Now, that could be wrong. He may still stand by it today. If so, then I just respectfully disagree with that stance, to be honest. Boys?
Sorry, he's been given 3 weeks, Whitehead.
Whitehead?
Yeah, grade 3, dangerous contact.
Last time we see Whitehead and Rapana. Devastating.
Crazy. Sucks. Final thoughts, boys?
Yeah, no, I think we've summed it up well. It's disappointing.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kempy. He's got enough runs on the board as, again, a highly reputable bloke himself, Trent Robinson. So, heat of the moment, it got to him. it happens. Words are exchanged, whatever. But yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, even the actual hip drop, like there's question marks over. It happened so friggin' quickly. Anyway. But I think, yeah, right there, Roosters off at your own peril. I really do. I think they're going to be galvanised now. I think they're going to, circle the wagons. They're going to be ready to go come finals footy. I'd assume anyway. I would assume. Alrighty. Now, I mean, we've talked already a bit about the Roosters' injury. They got Walker ACL, Smith ACL, Nat Butcher HIA, Radley shoulder injury. Just been incredibly unlucky, the Roosters. And that's where you can look at Robbo and be like, he's had to deal with 2020, Radley and Verrills both doing the ACL. 2021, Morris Collins, ACL. 2022, Smith Tupanua, ACL. 2024, Walker Smith, ACL. So that pent-up frustration, geez, it's got to be frustrating from Robbo's perspective.
Yeah, it's brutal. And I, as much as we might not all agree with my hot take, I personally I take them out of premiership contention off the back of this. I don't think they can win a comp. Are we all on the same?
Oh, I'm not saying that just yet.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know about that. They've definitely dropped a little bit, but I still think they're a dangerous side.
I'm very excited to see Luke Keary. What do you got, mate? Your swan song. You've got a team that can win a premiership. I still think they can. Obviously, it's a massive blow, but it's all on the, like we say, it's a lot of pressure on Sen Smith coming in. I think the pressure's on Luke Keary, mate. Can you lead them to a premiership?
I mean, he's got the resume to do it. But what, you just feel like too much?
Yeah, I think it's too much of an ask. I think Sam Walker has saved them on a number of occasions this year, boys, in a number of games with individual brilliance. I think they're really going to miss him.
Yeah, tell the other thing that I assume Suolii's a chance to come back this week. If not this week, you'd think week 1 finals, but he probably takes over the goal kicking. Keary might in the interim, but I think it'd be Suolii.
Or Sandon Smith.
How's
goal
Sandon
kick
hit
yesterday
him?
in New South Wales Cup.
Maybe Sandon Smith then. So,
I've just been so stoked watching the Roosters get to this position. It's just so disappointing as a club. They finally sort out their season, which is, they start slow, build into it. Now they were finally getting to a position where they have a bloody good season. They finish in the top 4, and then essentially the last game of the year, or basically this happens. Just devastating.
Hopefully Radley's okay, because if they lost the 7, 9, 13, and not just a 13, but a key ball-playing link man in the team. Sorry, he was playing on the edge, but obviously Watson's gone to 9. That, to lose 3 of them, that's tough to come back from.
Other injuries this weekend. Tom Trbojevic, shoulder injury, set to keep him out next week's game, but should be back week 1 of the finals. Saab, syndesmosis. We'll see him miss 2 to 4 weeks, possibly more if surgery required. Pappenhausen got scans which confirmed bruising on his knee, could play this week. Cleary said his shoulder is 7 out of 10, and he will be back for first week of the finals. And a lot of this information is from NRL physio guys, at least the first one in regards to the Sydney Roosters ACLs. This other stuff is just normal information that's out there. I guess I would love to know, these injuries happening late in the year, do more injuries happen late in the year? And is that a sign of the year being too long, the season being too long? I'm not sure. I don't have the data, but it feels, at the very least, like a lot of injuries are happening towards the end of the year.
The vibe to me feels like the season is just too long for these guys. Once again, I've got no numbers or anything to back it up, but Christ, that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought it's too long. How many... Well, I don't know if it's a fair comparison or not, but how many rounds is the NFL, Guru? It's not
17, 18.
17, 18, so 10 less. I don't know if they play as many finals or how it all works, but when you add the internationals into it, Origin, all sorts of things, pre-season, this sport is so physical. It's a long time for these blokes.
Yeah. In the Landy's defence and the commission, I think the plan is to get to 20 teams and have 20 games.
Yeah.
Which is a great number. I like that. 20 teams, 20 games. And also, draw becomes fair then as well, to a degree fair. So in that defence, but I think the season's way too long. And I understand why. We get paid the big bucks. The NRL gets paid the big bucks. The NRL, Fox and Nine spend so much money with the rights that you've got to deliver a product. So it's just a matter of finding that balance between making sure that the networks are happy, which we have to. At the end of the day, guys, without network money, the game essentially is you go back to non-professional pretty much. So you got to keep the networks happy, and that happy medium between seeing if the argument is the season is too long and we lose superstars for the final series, then somehow meeting in the middle with networks and going, guys, do you want the final series product to be better? Here's the evidence that suggests that the season's too long. If it is the case, now, if it is the case that the evidence doesn't suggest that at all, then the networks will be like, mate, there's no evidence to suggest it is. So I definitely think it's too long. Does that mean these injuries would or wouldn't have happened? I don't know. Like, you just don't know. But I even think it's too long from a consumer perspective of, there is a lull, and you can even see it in all the numbers. There is a little bit of a lull, the last, not the last couple rounds, but, the last 4 rounds before that, people disengage a little bit, and then they get re-engaged in it. And I feel like if you just shaved off maybe 3 or 4 rounds, you'd probably get engagement across, like the NFL do, where it's just like balls to the wall.
Every game
week,
matters.
Every week matters.
Yeah. I'm sure I can see it in my numbers anyway, even the 3 weeks before Origin. Just get a little bit of a lull.
Just a lull, and then
up.
just bang.
And then the 4 weeks after Origin, there's just not much doing. And then you get to this period of the year. And we're lucky this year that it hasn't really played out this way, but normally you have mass restings during this period and whatnot, and you can see why for these reasons, but it's just too long.
I quite like what the AFL do they have a week off after the final round of the season, leading into finals, and just gives the opportunity to freshen them up, especially like in rugby league where, you get a head knock now and it's a week out. To lose a player next week due to a Category 1 head knock is just massive. So I like the way they do that. What do you reckon?
That's actually the question, the big spag question this week.
There you go.
We'll get to that in a sec. Alrighty, now next topic.
It's going to be confirmed later today, but apparently Radley also needs surgery.
Fuck me.
Anyone getting on the Roo hot train? Or?
I think that they still, you take those 3 blokes out, they still have a friggin' good side.
Sorry, you go, Root.
What will they do? They'll play Butcher on the edge then, will they?
Oh,
Or White? Or they...
Satilli, got Satilli as well.
I think, who plays 13? Changes their whole dynamic, doesn't it?
White has played 13 before.
Yeah, and he's not like...
He's not a ball player, but
he's not a ball player. Like,
It changes a lot. There's a lot.
I tell you what, it's on Robbo. What do you got, mate? What's
mate.
in one of the smartest coaches in the NRL? We know that. Like, wow, he's going to have to adapt quickly. So,
as I said, comments aside, geez, I feel for the bloke. Like, fuck, you have every waking hour of your day has been dedicated towards turning this team around to get into the top 4. You finally do that. Everyone has all these questions about, heading into this year. There was, well, from our perspective anyway, we felt there was pressure on Robbo. And, Robbo would be sitting there going, mate, I've won 3 premierships. Like, how dare you question my ability? Which is fair enough. And so he finally does what he says he's going to do. And then, boom, luck strikes. And, how can he can't control that. Like, he can't control the bloody ACLs going, so I just feel for the bloke.
And as you said, it's every waking hour for us since March. For him, it's from October last year.
Yeah, like the pressure on this bloke against a glamour club that hasn't won a premiership or been to a prelim since 2018, 19. And he finally gets, he does everything he can do. Sucks. All right, another topic. Now, Buzz Rothfield has come out with a article. Now, it's funny that, we're always of the mind of, protecting referees, blah, blah, blah. We've said it a million times. But I do feel like sometimes the rugby league community gets told, oh, you're exaggerating on why you're just getting caught up in the penalties now and it's no worse than before. And to a degree, I think people in the comment sections or whatever, they definitely are way too abusive towards officiating. So, I'm not excusing that. But the reasonable footy fan that may just be like, oh, geez, I really feel like the refereeing's not been great the last month. Usually when a lot of people are feeling it and you don't have any data to back it up, you kind of question yourself and go, maybe I'm just being fucking sook. Maybe I am just looking at my own team, getting a bad call against it. Because that's what most reasonable people... if you're self-aware, you think that. You go, maybe I'm wrong. If you're not thinking that, you're a fucking crazy person. However, Buzz Rothfield's rated great. He's got the numbers. And so the feeling that we have felt as a rugby league community over the last month, it's correct, guys. It's correct. So, compared to the start of the season between rounds 1 and 5, sin bins are up 120%. So 12 players were binned between rounds 1 and 5 at the start of the year. 27 players were sin binned between round 20 and 25. That's 120% increase. Set restarts between rounds 20 and 25 are up 13% on the first 5 rounds of this year. But over the entire season, compared to last year, set restarts are up 20.4%. Then the penalties between round 20 and 25 are up 10% on the first 5 rounds. And so, like, at the end of the day, that's numbers, that's facts. And I think that sometimes, yeah, as we said, rugby league community gets this kind of like bad rap of like, oh, you're being dramatic or whatever. But we were right. The feeling that we had around this was correct, that the reffing over the last month, unfortunately, at the very least, has been different to the standards set throughout the year.
And mate, like those numbers just match up perfectly to what we're seeing with the eye test. To be honest with you, I thought penalties would be higher than that. I feel like the penalties have been outrageous the last few weeks. So much stop-start footy. It's been crazy.
There was 21 penalties in that Panthers and Rabbitohs game, and
Yeah.
I loved Ivan Cleary's comments after it. He said it was so long, it takes so long to get anything done, bunker decisions and whatever. No wonder people started running on the field. They must have sold a few beers tonight, I reckon. But he goes on to talk about it and saying, rugby league's a free-flowing game. That's what we want. That's what everyone wants. That's what every fan wants. We're trying to find that. He said, I don't see discipline being that bad. And then I love how he finished it. There's lots of things. Bunker decisions seems to take forever. I haven't got the answer. Paused. Well, I have, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
getting
God,
blind.
I would love to know what he's thinking.
A bloke as smart as him in
Yeah.
rugby league. Fitzgibbon, who we were talking about the other day, never says anything. He said, Fitzgibbon was equally, he said, we wait until a couple of weeks before the semis to start doing a crackdown. That was a disaster. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And then gamesmanship starts coming into it. How bad are they? It hurts. They stay down. We all know what they're doing. We wait until this time of the season to crack down on it. Game after game, we want to see good footy. This is the time of the year we should be letting the game flow. I'm all for protection of players, but there's a balance. I mean, he's right. He's right. Like, we'll get to the Sharks game, Sharks-Warriors game, but the Ito 10 in the bin was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean that the Sharks, that lost the Sharks the game. What lost the Sharks the game was losing a 22-4 lead. However, it robbed them of a fair opportunity to close the game out. But we will get to that. So I just thought that would be that's a good little article to go and read if you want by Buzz Rothfield that kind of confirms the feeling we have felt over the last month or 5 weeks or so. Alrighty.
Just before we move on, I had a really interesting chat on the weekend to not an NRL referee, but a referee just a tier below who was saying that when they're brought through the grades, being a ref, you obviously don't have video ref when you're down at the local oval Sunday afternoon. So the way that they're taught to do it, they call it like a pendulum method. So they have the main referee who's out there, your two touch judges. And what they do is they have the short side touch judge is the one that tends to rule on forward passes, and the other touch judge tends to drop back a little bit.
Just like wingers.
Well, yeah. So what I was saying last week when you had that blatant Ito forward pass, that I thought, why the hell is the referee standing on the 10-metre line instead of on the try line? This guy sort of said to me, it's something that us referees have spoken about for a long time, that why the hell do the first grade referees follow the same process as the park football referees on a Sunday when they've got the advantage of having the video replay?
Yep.
That you don't need to do that pendulum process. So, and once again, I'm talking just through someone else here. I've got no experience in it myself. But it sort of makes sense if when you go to the open side, if the one making the call on the forward passes is the referee on the short side, who, when by the time you get to the centres wingers, they're 60 metres away with players in between them, makes it very tough.
Yeah. Saying that forward pass was easy to see from fucking the moon.
Yes.
The touch he could have been on the moon, he would have seen that.
But
I'm joking, obviously, bro. But yeah, it's absolutely correct in regards to why are they reffing the same when they have a different environment?
Completely different environment and advantages that they're not seemingly leaning into.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. It's a great insight because we don't like really know that really. It's
I had
almost
no
a lot,
idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery around.
Yeah,
and that's granted. Like maybe it's our fault. We need to do more research on it. But
like that was my initial response when I looked at it last week and saw where that touchy was. My initial reaction was, "The fuck are you doing? Why are you out of position?" But it's sort of what they're told to do, which I think, once again, we've spoken about this for a long time. I feel sorry for the referees because they're getting these orders from somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think they've been done many favours.
And also, I do feel like referees nowadays just go, you know what, I'm just going to take the bunker can do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let the bunker do it. And that is a symptom of, I think, an environment created where if we really sold to the audience like, guys, we're going to trust the refs to have their style of reffing on the game, if we really sold that to the public, I wonder whether that would make grey areas a bit more acceptable for the public. I wonder whether if the NRL really said, guys, we're going to allow the game to flow and trust the referees, and if they get things wrong, they're allowed to get things wrong because that's the price we're going to pay for free-flowing footy.
Well, we've got a 110-year sample size. That was pretty damn good.
It seemed pretty good. So hopefully, I stand by it. I think that the referees need more resources. I think the number one priority heading in the off-season, huge conference with all the refs, all the coaches in the game, but also anyone that they feel has knowledge in the game, old or young, at the conference, giving their thoughts, giving their even just like fans of the game. Like I know they would interact with fans of the game to a degree, but even just like fans of the game that have their, because like at the end of the day, the fans of the game, you're trying to create a product to sell to them. Like that's the reality. Now you don't obviously, if you are the expert in a field, you don't always listen to the person you're creating the product for because you're the expert. You should know better, but it doesn't hurt to hear them out. Alrighty, that's a great insight there. I was a ref. Where was he reffing at?
Sort of New South Wales Cup sort of level.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did he?
But it was once he said it to me, and then I was watching it on the weekend.
Yeah.
I could see it then. It sort of stood out once it happened.
How did he feel? Did you speak to him about being a ref in regards to does it excite him to eventually get to the NRL, or is he kind of like
Didn't get in that deep.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Alrighty. Hope, you know what? Maybe we should try to in the off season get a ref on the show and just chat to him. And I mean a New South Wales Cup ref as well as obviously an NRL ref. I tell you what, I have spoken to retired refs, and they're like, man, it just got to the point where like getting smashed on the internet constantly just wasn't worth it.
When I was a teacher, I had a daughter of a NRL first grade ref in my class, and mate, like she'd come to school on a Monday morning broken sometimes.
Yeah.
Dad, they're walking down the street and Dad got abused, thrown shit at. Like it's just,
See, that's just disgusting.
It's insanity.
Like that's where I think that as a game we are letting the refs down. Like it's one thing to critique the refs' performance, just like we critique the players' performance, just like we critique the NRL's performance. But abuse, like you should not be a part of the game. We should try to create an environment where refs are seen as the way they're supposed to be seen, which is like propped up, like important pieces of the game, rather than people that you can just disrespect. Anyway, so hopefully that fixes in the
It's
offseason.
bizarre the mindset that like people expect referees to be perfect on a smaller pay packet than the players. Who there's no expectation for them to be perfect.
Mate, I'll always stand by it. I will cop any missed call nearly happening in free flowing. For example, I made obviously the joke with the Iro forward pass. I'll cop that though, because that's happens in play. Like I am okay with refs missing just in play situations. It happens so quick. You don't know what their angle is. You don't know what their eye side is looking at. I will cop that every day. It's the bunker stuff where I'm just like head blown. Anyway, alrighty, on to the next topic. We'll get through this quickly, guys. NYC, the NRL has reportedly created a committee to explore the possibility of getting the national youth competition back to 2026. It was Acts 2017. Eichen and Trent Robinson are part of the committee. The NYC would return as under 21s comp, comprising existing Jersey flag teams plus sides from the Broncos, Titans, Cowboys, Dolphins, with games to potentially be played as NRL curtain raisers. Thoughts?
I would prefer a reserve grade competition. I think that when the NYC was sort of at its peak, I had a number of mates that were in there and stuff, and guys that went on to play first grade, and their feedback was it almost didn't prepare them well enough for first grade because there's such a big difference between playing between men and kids your own age. I go out and watch my brother play Jersey flag every week, and the difference between Jersey flag and New South Wales Cup, it is like miles apart. It's unbelievable. And like you saw it in the NYC, you can go back and just have a look at score sheets. Like you'd have the best defensive teams would be conceding 28 points a week. It was a free for all. I just don't think it prepared guys well enough. I heard you talk the other day about, which I thought was interesting, like the point of view of players thinking that they'd made it before they had made it. Something that I hadn't really thought about. But yeah, I remember like my mates coming back to school wearing the same tracksuits. The first graders were wearing and whatnot. Yeah, it's crazy.
Flying on planes, staying in hotels.
Yep. It was like I remember they used to have to go into the sheds, get themselves ready. Then at half time, as they walked out of the sheds, take their bags with them and put them somewhere else. So first grade could come in and everything. I love the idea of it, but I think you're better off going all in. I don't know how the hell you do it, but a proper reserve grade competition. Yeah,
look, I don't feel good about it, but I agree with Rue's sentiments there. I loved the NYC competition back in the day. It was so much fun, so entertaining. But if we're serious about like developing the next generation, I followed it, the NYC, super closely for years when I was running. It just doesn't develop players for the NRL, and you summed it up quite well, Roo. But like, there were players who'd score 35, 40 tries in a season, and then we'll get to the NRL level and just couldn't hack it. Like, they're not playing with men; they're playing against kids essentially. And I do like that it's mentioned 21s, not 20. I know it's only 1 year, but you know, players are a lot more physical by that age. It does change a fair bit that 1 year, but as you said, Guru, there's so much that would need to go to make it happen. But like a reserve grade proper one is better. And if you were to do a proper reserve grade competitions, and you know whether it is combining the Queensland and the New South Wales sides, that'd be the way to go about it. For the development of the players, the product would be awesome as well. You'd get up and about for your reserve grade side. Like, the Raiders are going really well in New South Wales Cup at the moment, but it's like players are in and out. They're not playing against Queensland teams, all of that. If they did it properly, I think that'd be a great product. And you can televise it. It's the curtain raises every week. I think that'd be the best.
Don't know whether you want to talk about it or not, but like his brother's a really good example. Like his brother, like a genuine halfback.
Mate, he was an immortal.
He was unbelievable in there, but you would have thought he was Ben Barber-esque when he was playing there, because it was, and I almost reckon that would put a little block in your development, because you're playing touch footy for 2 years.
Mate, he was like not a noted like try scorer or like a decent running game at NRL level, but in New South Wales Cup he'd score like, it was like 30 plus tries or something. He was top try scorer after about 18 or 19 rounds 1 year. Yeah. And this is like a bloke who went to the NRL and not known for his running game.
And I think another one is like Kyle Flanagan's a great example. Like watching Toyota Cup, if you sat there and you took a hot take of Flano's going to be one of the great halves of all time, you go, oh, fuck, I can't argue with you.
Yeah.
Because he was just untouchable in that league. But I don't think it prepares you properly for first grade.
I like the idea of a national reserve grade side. The biggest hurdle for that, though, is New South Wales and Queensland Cup.
Yeah.
So the only way to really fix that is if the NRL just buy New South Wales and Queensland Cup and just go, you know what, we are swallowing the whole thing. Now that you could make the argument, does that lose the grassroots kind of connection? I'm not sure. Another possibility is, could you make it so that it's actually like the teams in it aren't necessarily like the Broncos reserve grades, it's South Logan, or for example, you take the best 10 teams from New South Wales Cup, the best 10 teams from Queensland Cup, and they are the actual it's reserve grade comp, but they are actually representing their Queensland Cup local clubs. Then what you do is you have a relegation system underneath that, where the teams that didn't make it from New South Wales and Queensland Cup, they are playing in the local leagues or whatever, and you can have a relegation system with the actual clubs. Again, I think of that only because the thing with the National Reserve grade is then that if they go that route, Q Cup and New South Wales Cup are just gone.
Yeah. Well, in particular, Q Cup, you've only got 4 Queensland teams that devolve into 12 Queensland Cup sides. If that all of a sudden goes to 4, like you're getting a third the amount of games in Queensland every weekend for people to go to and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's like, it's tossed up. I think if you're looking at purely from a development perspective, it has to be a National Reserve grade. Yeah. I tell you what, if you thought we had issues in around Origin time, but also the standard of rugby league, I promise you, would increase dramatically if we had a National Reserve grade comp.
Yeah.
If you had full squads that were all training full time and also playing in your National Reserve grade side, the guys coming in would be ready to go immediately. It wouldn't be the amount of times, because I came through just before 20 started, and most of the time, by the time you came into first grade, you were ready because you went through Q Cup and you'd played against men. And the amount of guys like even a guy like Benny Barber, he came from 20s to first grade. He actually struggled his first year in first grade. Whereas that's outrageous. Like, Benny Barber should not struggle, but it's because he was used to playing against. Whereas before that, usually guys that had been good enough to dominate Q Cup and New South Wales Cup were good enough to go straight into NRL and be consistent.
Yeah. You would have been an NYC immortal, Kempy, with your like speed just absolutely killed at that level. And with the Broncos juniors that you would have come through with, would have been unbelievable.
Oh, mate, the under-20s come back. Well, I think our boys got to a grand final, got beaten by Raiders.
The first grand final, Raiders beat the Broncos, and the Broncos had Drell, Alex Glenn was in there. They were stacked, but then the Raiders had, I think they had like Shawnee Fenton, Dugan, Croker.
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
Unreal.
The problem with the 20s as well is what's going to happen is unless they are forced to play their under-20s in it, clubs are going to go, that's not the best development for my player. We've got this 18-year-old that we think's a gun. He's going straight to Q Cup. Because that's what happened in the end years of the under-20s. You actually weren't seeing the best under-20-year-olds. They were actually all in Q Cup. You were seeing the guys that were okay.
Yeah, you were saying instead of guys playing in front of 15,000 at the SFS on a Friday night, they were playing at Wentworth Park on Saturday morning because it was better for their development.
Alrighty, time for Big's Bag. This is from Cam's Legs, 5275. Shout out Cam's Legs. Email matt@blokeinabar.com to claim your $50 bloke voucher. As I said, guys, leave your comment in the YouTube comment section, and then we pick one each week for Big's Bag, your question. And also make sure to like and subscribe and leave a positive review on Apple and Spotify. It really helps the podcast. Alrighty, Big's Bag from Cam's Legs. The AFL had a week off over the weekend before their final start this weekend. Should the NRL look at something like that? Okay. I was all for this. But Christian Welsh, I think, actually spoke about this, a really good article. Could you try and Google it, please? Yep. Something about, we'll Google it first, but from my perspective before reading that, and I can't really remember what the point of it, like what the meat of it was, I really like this. The only thing that I hope then is if you go, all right, boys, if we're giving you a week off before finals footy, then you're not allowed to like rest players 2 weeks, if you know what I'm saying. It has to be kind of like, I don't know how you would enforce that, but I guess the problem would be is like, okay, then do teams start going, all right, there's 2 extra weeks off, and also there is an argument to be made, there's an art of balancing a season where like, okay, let's say a team's totally depleted and that extra week they get, it gives them just one more week to get their full strength side back, and then all of a sudden they go on a run compared to another side that's balanced their season really well. That's, I think, the argument against it. However, my opinion, I like it. I want to see as many of our superstars on the paddock as possible during finals. And I think a week off also builds the tension for it. It built like that extra week, the whole week, all the talking points, everything, you are going to be frothing at the bit by the time that first finals game comes about.
First of all, as a very low-ranking member of the Front Rowers Club, surely every front rower wants Christian Welsh to shut up. He's just too smart. He is incredible the way, every time I hear him talk, he blows me away. I think Timmy brings up a great point with the HIA. In the modern game and everything, like, and I don't know, you know, if what it's going to look like for finals, but every week there seems to be a handful of guys missing for HIAs, which is all good and well, but fuck, missing finals week 1 because of something like that. So I like it, and yeah, you know, it happens in the AFL. The NFL do it the week before the Super Bowl as well to allow guys to make sure they're fit and ready to go. Would you have some sort of an event in that time, in that week? Like, could this be an opportunity for the sprint or something like that? Or do you just sort of let it sit then? Maybe.
I haven't really thought about it that much, to be honest. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I can't really knock it at all. Like, I haven't dug deep into the logistics of it all, but said it's a very long season. At the end of the day, we want the best product come finals time, and like, we'll reassess this in a week, but in a week's time we might have 5 to 10 players across the 8 clubs in finals missing because of HIAs or little niggles or whatever. If we can get those 5 to 10 players across those 4 games of week 1 finals on the field because they've had a week off, why not? Like, I just give them a chance to rest up, sort those niggles out. I think the way the AFL do it, I think it's a really good concept.
Timmy?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Matty.
I'm struggling to find this article, but yeah, I'm against this. I don't like it. I think it kills any momentum a team rightfully has coming into finals. I'd rather them have a week off before the grand final, like have the 2 weeks off then, and then.
That wouldn't be the same argument that it kills.
No, because then it doesn't disadvantage the teams that come in the top 4. Because I think if you go, say Storm, you'll go Storm, week on, week off, then week on, then week off. I think it just becomes a bit disjointed. Everyone's got that week off. Then that top 4 week off becomes kind of irrelevant, I think. Yeah, I don't like it. I think have the week off, like the Super Bowl, before the grand final, so then teams and players from those teams can like pass their HIAs and stuff like that. That's what I think.
I do think, probably like thinking very much off the dome and like in response to Matty and that, and I get his argument, because there is one bye every round, like as it stands with the current number at 17-team competition, you probably have to look at maybe not having teams on the bye in the final round, in the second last round, because then there is a gap. Like particularly, let's say you have a bye in the final round of the season, and then you finish top 4, so you're not playing. Then you have the week off, then you finish top 4 and you win, and then you have another week off, you're not playing 3 or 4 rounds. You'd probably have to manipulate that. Again, ideally, there's an even level of teams and there's not a weekly bye.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the Warriors were in the same position they were in last year, they would go bye, week off. Like, it's a lot of time without footy.
Yeah.
So maybe stop that individual bye from round 25 or something.
Perth in, whatever. That'll go away.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things where you can look at the nitpicky sides of it, and I think any reasonable person would go, you know what, that does or doesn't work. But I think from the broader sense, let's say that you could sort all those little things out. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I do. There's one question of you have a week off, you win that game, you have another weekend off. That's a bit weird for me. That's a bit weird. I wonder how you would fix that. Do you get rid? I don't know. So it's funny. The funny thing is, it's actually a way more fucking complicated question than you think it is. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it when you actually get into the nitty gritty of it. From a broad perspective, a bird's eye perspective of getting as many superstars to play in the final series as possible, I like it.
Does the AFL do anything in the week off, or is it just dead air?
I'm not too sure, but
I think dead air.
I don't think they do anything.
The thing is, it wouldn't be dead air because there'd be so much the hype and the intensity of like waiting. I mean, you're edging the rugby league community. You're just edging them.
Also, it's rugby league. They'll find something to put on. Like,
yeah, I mean, there could be like, I don't know, national touch competition or like there's so many things that because obviously the NRL own that. There's so many little things.
Go all in on the women's competition that weekend. Like, G that up, make that the pinnacle leading into their final. So, I don't know.
Alrighty, thanks for the question. Cam's legs, appreciate it. Make sure, leave a comment. Beaks Bag, next week we'll pick another question. We really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Alrighty, before we get into it, all 8 games are live and ad-free during play on Kayo. Some key games this week is the Spoon Bowl, Tigers versus Eels, Bulldogs versus Cowboys, and Manly versus Sharks. Exclusive to Fox League and available on Kayo. Obviously, there were massive problems last week with Manly Bulldogs.
Yep.
I had the same problem, guys. So, apologies for that, because obviously they're a partner with Bloke. But I do know internally when things like that happen, they are absolutely doing everything they can to fix it. But yeah, they're our partners, so apologies for that, guys. I know that they're working their absolute asses off to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Alrighty, Cowboys defeat the Storm 38-30. To be honest, guys, and sorry to disappoint Cowboys and even Storm fans to a degree, but there's not really that much to talk about with this game, because the Cowboys basically played how they've played all year to a degree, outside of little blocks of footy. Super inconsistent. They want to win a game 38-30 instead of 16-4. Look, I think Todd Payten walks away from this game and almost just goes, you know what? Thank God we just got the 2 points, because that could have been a disaster. I actually think Todd Payten heading into this game would have been super nervous, knowing that Bellyache is literally the guy responsible for coining the term, not him coining it himself, but he was the coach of the Baby Broncos, I think, that beat the Tigers all those years ago, and was almost the first, not the first, but the first one that we all spoke about of this super young reserve grade side going and beating an NRL side. Bellyache actually had something to do with that. So his ability to take sides that are young, that are reserve grade, and get them to lift for a game is second to none. And so I think Payten almost walking into that is like, no matter how much I try to tell my squad that this is going to be a tough game, they're not going to believe me. So I think he walks away from going, just thank God I got the job done, because the headlines, if we lose, would have been a disaster. However, it doesn't change the fact that, once again, this Cowboys side that has a side on paper to win a premiership, unfortunately, they just don't give me enough. There's not enough evidence for me to go, I'm confident that they can go 4 games deep into a final series. However, I am confident they can probably play 2 games and absolutely demolish maybe any side. That's how good their attack is. So it's an inconsistent year for the Cowboys. They got the job done. That's the main thing. They're in the finals. That's the main thing. When you can compare it to other sides with great rosters that are out of the 8, it's his 3rd year as the coach, 3rd year as a coach. He's made finals again. That's a win. Like, I think sometimes we look at clubs, and unless they are absolutely flying on top of the table and winning grand finals and looking unbeatable, then it's either that or a failure. this is it an A+ for the year? It's not an A+. Is it a failure, though? Definitely not a failure either. So, look, they got the win. They move forward into next year. They've got themselves in a position to make a run. I just haven't seen enough yet to know that they will make a run.
Yeah, I thought you summed it up well, mate. And this game, it went almost perfectly to script. Melbourne were better than what we thought they'd be, and the Cowboys underperformed. Like, it was always going to happen this way. And it's funny, mate, you mentioned, like, Melbourne Storm. Like, as soon as they named this side, I thought, I know they're going to be better than what we're expecting.
The side that was it's actually a pretty bloody good side they named. Like,
it is a good
with
side,
NRL
yeah.
experience compared to what you would be expecting.
For sure. And it's funny, like, you have a look at the Cowboys, like, I would argue probably their two best performances this year is when their origin players were out and they had to call on their reserves.
Yeah, Roosters. They beat the Roosters down in Sydney.
Yeah, it's and I know we'll get to him, but man, Tyron Wishart, I love him.
Yeah, it's incredible. We'll definitely get to him. Timmy, thoughts?
Yes, it was. So there's very little to take out of it other than the depth of the Storm, because, like, I think they had 11 regulars missing, and then you add in, like, Pappenhausen lasted 14 minutes, Seve lasted 15 minutes. Lost two key members of the back line and had to make changes off the back of that. And for the Cowboys to concede 30 points to that Storm outfit, like, it's way too many. As you said, they got the 2 points. They'll be accepting of that, but it was an underwhelming performance. For the Storm to do that with 11 out, those two injuries early on, like, it was a great performance. So, as I said, I think you summed it up as well, Kempy. There's a few issues at the Cowboys. They can beat just about anyone on their day, but can they string them together to win a comp? I don't think so.
Wasn't it just another reminder, like, amazing reminder of the Melbourne Storm and their depth, that it took them resting 11 guys and an injury in the fourth minute for Farlongo to get an opportunity at fullback?
Yeah.
Imagine if he had the open market, like, how many teams would jump all over him. And keep in mind, the Cowboys' best player, Scott Drinkwater, he's only there because he happened to get injured at a very poor time at the Melbourne Storm and fell back in the pecking order.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And this is how well Storm balance their roster and give guys experiences at the right time. So 11 starters were missing. You do that at any other club, and you're probably looking at like 5 or 6 debutants. You actually go through this. Iromaya, he has played first grade. Seve, he's played first grade. Tonomapea, he has played first grade. Obviously, Farlongo has. Grant Anderson has played first grade. Lazarus, he made his debut earlier in the year, I think, or maybe even last year. But anyway, he's played first grade. Bradley's played first grade. Chance played first grade. Alec McDonald's played first grade. Like, that just shows you how well they handle seasons where they give guys experience here off the bench. They try and rotate their bench a little bit. So you've got 11 players missing, but you've actually got guys that, although they're rookie in numbers, they've experienced NRL before. They're not walking into it like it's their debut. So let's just talk quickly about the Storm, and then we'll talk quickly about the Cowboys. But we probably won't spend too much on this game, guys, because there's not really much more to add.
Just quickly on it though, like, you add on to those injuries that happened for the Storm mid-game, all the combinations and all that they'd been working on all week. Like, within 15 minutes, so Wishart, who'd been training at hooker, he moved back into the halves. Anderson, who was picked in the halves, he went back to the wing. And then what it must have been, was it Russell Smith went to number 9 or something? Like, everything they'd planned for a week within 15 minutes was thrown out the window.
Yeah, and they just slot back into certain positions. And that's why, you look at some of these other teams with great rosters and you just go, how can they do it? But these other teams just go, oh, no, it's too hard. And there's all these excuses as to why they couldn't do it. Just an incredible... Bellyache, I'll say it, he is the best player developer in the history of the game. And if you have him as the best coach of all time, that is also... I wouldn't argue that hard against it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's player development, but it's also culture development. That just the next guy up can just come in and do a job.
Mate, building a team in Melbourne, the heartland of AFL, the way they have, it does, because we're so used to it now, we don't appreciate it. Like, I think Lazarus and is it Tonomapea maybe? They're the only two guys that actually were born in Melbourne. So you're looking at a team that no juniors essentially. I think it's about 5 players in the history of their club were actually born, and Farlongo, were born in Melbourne all the way through. In regards to performances, I spoke about it on Friday, but Wishart for me, the fact that you can see a bloke a couple weeks ago come off the bench, score a try like a front rower to win the game against Penrith, then start at 9 and kick a 40-20 in the first 20 minutes like he's bloody Cameron Smith out of hooker. The range of ability, you barely see that. And I'd argue, obviously you've got a guy like Connor Watson it's relatively similar, but I'd argue that like Connor Watson has had to build into this to his whole career, where he has just added on pieces to his game year on year on year on year. He's a decade into his career or close to it, and now he's become this. Wishart's at the start of his career, and he already has all of these pieces to the puzzle. It's an incredible performance by Wishart. It's an incredible season by Wishart. And if there was an award for most improved, he has to be at least top 3, if not number 1. There's other guys like Curran that you might put in there, but Curran's already had good big years. Wishart, for me, most improved. If there was an award for Dally M People's Player of the Year, I think Wishart gets it. It's been an incredible rise. And I think the beautiful thing for Wishart is, if this same rise happened 5-6 years ago, maybe even a decade, he almost has to go to another club, because no one's spending 700, 600 grand on a 14 utility role. These days, your utility is arguably more important than a lot of starting roles. And so you can afford to pay 500-600K for him. I think the Melbourne will be able to find a way to keep him.
Mate, I'd be more than happy to pay that 700K for him to be a 14, because as soon as you have an injury anywhere, he covers it. Like,
straight in there.
With all due respect to him, like, they didn't miss Cam Munster when he was out, which is unbelievable.
If he played the whole year at 6, he genuinely could be in the running for Dally M6 of the year.
I think he wins it.
It's crazy.
He has been incredible this season. I've mentioned it before, but when he signed with Melbourne, I had his old man on the podcast, and I said, what position does he play? He goes, mate, I don't know. He doesn't know. Bellamy doesn't know. But what Bellamy has found something in his personality, and he wants him to be a part of this system, which just says everything. Like, he's a son of an absolute legend at the Dragons, and he was in the Dragons system, and they obviously didn't identify this.
Yeah.
And he went down to Melbourne, not even for an opportunity. There wasn't a jersey there for him. It's insane.
Timmy?
Yeah, I think what Bellamy would have seen in him is probably just footy now. It's like, I get the idea he's a player with a really good footy IQ, and to be able to play numerous positions at such a high click, you have to, because you can't just slot into a new and be able to make defensive reads and do all that. But it was on show with the bat back. I love the high angle of his, I think it was his second try, but there was the short drop out, and you could see they were going up to bat it back, and he came in from the side and goes, if they do get a hand and bat it back, it's me 1v1 with, I can't remember who else it was, but just flew through, sat up for him. He preempted it well before it came into contact with any player or anything. Very smart footballer.
Yeah. It just, what and it's ticker. And the thing that I love about the Storm is they clearly have a system where, or whatever it is, a test or whatever. What's the Bellamy story of, like, he takes young players or players to coffee and how they treat the waiter? If they don't say please and thank you, immediately not interested.
Yeah, he tips off the waiters to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And he sends them up to put the orders in and everything.
And so if they don't say please and thank you, I don't know if it's a full no, but it's a huge indicator as to, like, what kind of man or person they are. And just little things like that, where I feel like Wishart, because he's immediate, like, his skill set, it doesn't immediately hit you in the face. You watch a Munster play, and just with ball in hand, just the way he moves, you go je ne sais quoi. That's what you say. It's je ne sais quoi all over that bloke.
Guru wouldn't got to start at the Storm. I've had coffee with Guru before, and he's asked waiters to tie his shoes for him.
Mate, I wouldn't put it past you.
Wish he would have made the coffee for the barista.
Mate, wouldn't put it past you. Apparently Wishart did a full barista bloody course before he went down there. Hey, Bellyache, I got you covered. I'll just do it for everyone here. The free coffee's on me. But yeah, like, what I love about the Storm system is that they identify and understand that being a good rugby league player has so much to do more with what you actually do on a footy field. And that's where a guy like Wishart can fall through the cracks of other clubs that are just so focused on, is he 6'2"? Can he bench press 180 kilos? Can he run 110.5? Whereas the Storm go, rugby league, first and foremost, is about mental toughness. I remember when I did come across from soccer, like, it's, aside from being a halfback, that's a thinking man's position. A lot of rugby league is just being tough enough to play it. It really is being willing to be on the field in the 65th minute, gassed out of your mind, and make that effort. And that's what Wishart builds his whole game around. Then you start adding on the little extra flair and all that kind of stuff that the Storm system can bring. And also, the exciting thing for the Storm is, like, look, Munster right now is quite a serious injury, and you just don't know. Like, will he be a player that will play till 36, 37? If I had to guess, probably not. And so who knows? He might only have 2 to 3 more years left in him. And so you've got a ready replacement, boom, right there, ready to go. Like, it is just landed perfectly for him. And yeah, there's a reason why the Storm is so great. So great. Another player for me that really did stand out, I know on stats that didn't stand out that much or whatever, but it was Lazarus for me. Like, the little things, like a guy like him coming through the grade, big front rower, super like strong in contact. You can see all the physical attributes are there. But just his ability, there was one period where there was like 10 minutes to go in the second half. Valentine Holmes catches the ball, has a quick 20-metre tap, and guess who's sprinting back there? It's Welsh and Lazarus. Welsh, you expect it because he's played Origin. He's a leader. He was one of the best front rowers in the game at his best. So, of course, he's going to do that. But a rookie that would have been pampered his whole career, being told how great he is, like that kind of mental attitude usually takes till they're 25, 26 years old. He's got it in his debut year. And that's just a scary prospect for a guy that's already got all the physical attributes.
I reckon he earned himself a spot in their 17. Moving forward.
Mate.
I'd be finding a bench spot for, even if it's 20 minutes, whatever. As good as they've gone, I still look at them at times and think maybe they're just one forward short on the big
man.
stage.
Yeah.
He could be it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I don't disagree at all. What do you reckon, Timmy, about Lazarus?
He was outstanding, and as was Atavalu Lasati. How was that try at the end of the game?
Yeah. Beast.
I had a bit of a look back, and he was came over at I think 19 or 18 or 19, might have been a bit before, went through Ipswich State High, and from there poached by the Panthers. Storm signing from Penrith, and again, I haven't seen him in the lower grades, but holy moly, off a one-game sample size and a one-run sample size, he is a beast. That try was exceptional.
Yeah, absolutely. Reminds me a lot of the young Warriors forwards that are coming through now that like just have a mixture of everything: speed, explosiveness, ticker. And what's the best thing is like a guy like that is obviously you had that great line break, but 26 tackles, 0 misses.
65 minutes.
Like that's. For a guy like that, when you've got that defence already sorted, like that's a big win for the club.
Lazarus was 29 tackles, 0 miss too.
So
very
good.
impressive. Mate, I know we could mention him in Team of the Week, but Christian Walsh, like he's only a few games back, or maybe his first game back.
I think it was first one, wasn't it?
Played 58 minutes.
Just crazy.
He was enormous.
Yeah.
He's, second game back since round 18.
Just proves that you don't need to have the C next to your name to be a leader.
Yeah. The other one I thought was great, boys, was Alec McDonald. He's very slowly just developing into a real Melbourne player.
And also, because he's so mobile, he's actually not that big of a forward. He actually kind of suits that 13 role to a degree. So, look, great performance by the Storm. Quickly on to the Cowboys. As I said, like, it's weird because they got the win, but you're almost going to be talking more negatively about the Cowboys than you did the Storm. Drinky at the back there, he had, when he clicks. But I know I'm nitpicking, but that last try where he just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to take the easy option. I'm going to keep running to get the winger in case he passes it. Like Drinky knows, just try and make the tackle. You don't have to shot the big fella. You don't have to put him on his back. And you can even get bumped. But just at least when I see that, I'm just like, that's the wrong mind state for a team to be in heading into finals footy. Because with Scotty Drinkwater, in any given game, he's one of the best attacking players in the NRL, bar none. Like, that's how good he is. It's just defence. That's the only thing that he has to work on.
If you make him a top 8 defensive fullback, he's a rep footballer straight away. Like, you don't even have to be the best defensive fullback.
No.
Just like but for me, mate, he, in a number of ways, he just personifies who the Cowboys are to me. He is a lights out attacking player, but defensively, like, I think the other thing that we need to remember with the Cowboys is that they also had the bye before this. They had 2 weeks to prepare for this. They knew what was coming. We all knew Melbourne was resting for 8 weeks now. They had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and I feel like I'm so critical of the Cowboys all year, but
yeah, same.
For where they finish, I hate it too, but you're a better footy side than this, and I don't think it shocked anyone at home that a reserve grade Melbourne Storm side managed to put up a fight against the Cowboys.
Well, put it this way, there's a reason. The reason why I am looking at this ladder, and you look at where the Cowboys are at. Sorry, guys, 2 secs. So the Cowboys are 6th. I have been praising the shit out of the Bulldogs and Manly this year, and even Dolphins to a degree. Ironically, it's actually because I have higher expectations of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think the Cowboys have a team on paper to win a premiership more than the Seagulls and the Bulldogs. So as a Cowboys fan, I know it must be frustrating listening to us talk about them sometimes, because you're like, hang on a sec, why are you guys praising the shit out of Manly and Bulldogs, and meanwhile you're critical of the Cowboys? It's because we believe in the Cowboys. This team can win a comp. There is not a single part of their roster that I look at their best that can't win the comp. And I'm being genuine when I say that. Like, it's not. I'm not trying to defend us being critical. I truly mean it.
And it's well clarified, Ken, because we do cop a bit of stick around, like not praising probably the Cowboys as much as we should based on that position. But you're right. Our conversations at the start of the year and predicted ladder and wins and all that, we had them as premiership contenders with their roster. So to see them do this against the Storm, essentially reserve grade outfit, there are issues. It's not an impressive win, like 38-30. The side you mentioned before, the Dolphins, the Dogs, that we didn't have them as top 8 teams from memory. Like, I think just about everyone had Dogs bottom 4. So you go, all right, they are exceeding expectations. The Cowboys, they've been okay. Like, they've had some good moments. And another one, without sort of putting the nail in too much after a win, and I know I give this bloke a bit of a hard time, but it's because I just think he can be the best back row in the NRL. But like Jeremiah and I, you go into a finals campaign where they've got a team where they can push for a grand final. And like his defence on the Lazarus opening try, really poor. The one from the Tyron Wishart off the back of the scrum, where he's just looking at the stands and probably got the best dummy in the game. Wishart just goes, okay, thank you, dummies, and goes through himself. This is your rep back rower. It's not good enough. And like, all right, maybe you can get away with it in a comp game and against a reserve grade Storm, but week 1 of finals, that could cost you week 2 of finals.
Yeah. I'd love to hear the conversation with him after this game, because at the end of the day, he had a try. Stat sheet's great.
He's probably, except for maybe Angus Crichton, he's probably the best attacking back row in the comp. Maybe Dave Fafita.
Well, he scored 13 tries this year. No one's even talking about it, but it's those other little things you watch that
we know he can attack.
Yeah,
I honestly, I've tried to rack my brain. I just think he's young.
Yeah,
I think you forget that he's 21 years old, and you look at any back rower that's that young and that talented, they've all got holes in their game. Like, look at Fafita, who was still trying to round out parts of his game. Not that I'm trying to excuse it, but I just, that is the reason I think it is. I think he's just young. He's just trying to find himself. Even he is probably a bit taken back by the fact that he is one of the best back rowers in the competition at 21 years old.
And fair enough. Like I said, he's still young, but it's also his 4th season in the NRL.
Sure.
He's played 60 NRL games. He's played a lot of rep football.
I think that's what's frustrating, is that you've seen him in Origin look nothing like that. And like, for Queensland, he's been fucking great over the last few years. So, yeah, and you're right, like, he is young, 100%. Like, he's a kangaroo back rower 18 months ago.
Yeah. Ironically, in Origin, that one switch off was
fair.
Wasn't an eye.
Yeah. Like the series before that, if you just
incredible.
watch that, you go, okay, he's the most consistent back row in the NRL.
Happy for Kyle Felt, 2 tries. I mean, basically his last game at home, essentially. And I was actually shocked when the news came out. They were he was going to move on. I think it's actually a matter of, he probably got a pretty good wicket offer from St. Helens.
I believe so, yeah.
St. Helens. Not a bad team to go and play at. Like that, St. Helens, it's not like other Super League sides where it's kind of like, they're just stoked to have you. St. Helens is basically the biggest side in the Super League. They don't just pick up anyone. And I think that they have probably identified him and gone, mate, he is still in really good nick, really good form. He will kill it in Super League. And I think the Cowboys probably looked at it and said, mate, we just probably can't afford to, with how many blokes we've got coming through, it'd almost be a disservice to offer you unders as a club legend. He's a club legend for me in the Cowboys.
Oh, without a doubt he is.
And he doesn't get enough appreciation. I'd make the argument that he has had more match-winning tries than maybe any current winger right now in the NRL.
Well, like Matty mentioned a few weeks ago, and it shocked me, like 15 weeks before that grand final where he scored the match-winning try, he was playing Queensland residents. His rise was insane. And so, as you said, mate, whenever they seemingly need a try, he comes up with a big play.
I think any current winger playing right now, he has more match-winning tries than him. That's how good his career has been.
I'll tell you, like, it's an interesting few weeks for the Cowboys, and they're up and down and everything, I get that, but, like, their DNA is going to change next year. They're losing Val Holmes, they're losing Kyle Felt, Jake Granville, Chad Townsend. It's a huge transition period for that side.
Yeah. I think Tony Payton's been building towards it, to be honest. With that early switch of leadership this year with Cotter and Dearden.
Yeah.
What are you going to say, Tim?
Oh, just, to echo it, but like watching that, I'm just going, felt like, why are you leaving the NRL? You're still one of the, well, this year he's been one of the best wingers in the game. But from a bigger, broader perspective, as you said, Kempy, twilight of his career, he can leave the NRL going out on top as one of the better wingers in the game, go over to England, enjoy it. So good luck to him. Boys, Valentine Holmes, goal kicking, holy moly. I was thinking about, like, if there was a goal kicker in the NRL right now who had to kick for my life, it'd be Val. The first three he had in this game were from the sideline. I think a few of them were from his bad side. From the second it left the boot, it was going over the black dot, and it never faltered. I think he's on a kicking streak of 18 or 19 or 20 or something in a row. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I reckon the addition of James Maloney up there has helped that.
Yeah.
Maloney used to hit him like that.
Mate, Val's season has summed up the Cowboys season.
Yeah.
Like, you watch him sometimes and you're like, holy shit, that's the best center in the competition. And then sometimes you're just like, where's his head at?
Who's kicking for your life in the NRL right now? From the touchline on their bad side.
Very specific.
I know. Well, I want to make it as hard as possible.
Yeah, well, Val Holmes, obviously. That's the answer you're looking for.
I'm curious.
Yeah, maybe him or Cleary, I guess. I actually don't follow kicking percentages that often, to be honest.
If Nate's available,
You got Nath?
Yeah.
I'm going Val.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, look, they got the win. They're sitting 6. I'd probably put their season around a B- at the moment, when relatively speaking to when you look at, like, say, the Broncos, the Warriors, the Rabbitohs. Like, you know, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're sitting there going, hang on, boys, look at some of these other teams with good rosters. We're sitting 6. They're out of finals footy. So there's something to be said for that. So I think Payten deserves credit for that. I really do. I think we don't give enough appreciation for how hard it is in the NRL. Same with Craig Fitzgibbon. They often, both those coaches, they get cop a bit of flack, but it's like, have a look at these other rosters around you guys that are dropping out of the 8 like flies. You know, these, especially Fitzgibbon, but both Toddy Payten and Fitzgibbon have been relatively competitive since they came into the NRL.
I'll tell you what, like, they play the Canterbury Bulldogs this week. If they can have an impressive performance there and win, all of a sudden I'm sitting here going, fuck, okay, they're playing in North Queensland next week. They're probably going to play the Dolphins or the Knights. I'll back the Cowboys to win that.
Look, if the Cowboys end up in a final, I'm not going to be surprised by it. Like, I know they've got the team to do it, and I can see this, like, crazy run happening. It's just like, would I bet on it? Because it's just such a risk. I just don't think so. I don't know if I would. Alrighty, on to the next game. Manly v Doggies. What a game. I tell you what, in regards to, like, having a finals feel to it, this had a real finals feel to it. It felt like first week of finals. And I love that both teams, to a degree, responded to it. You know, my feelings heading into this game, and got a fair bit of pushback from it, but I just felt that, and maybe it's either one of two things. This is evidence that the Bulldogs, it's just a little bit too soon in their journey to have that extra kick in them to go finals footy level, or this is the little kick up the backside, or the down game that we've been waiting for. Because if we're all being honest here, we've been waiting for a down game for the Bulldogs. We've been sitting here going, come on, this is too good to be true. Eventually they're going to roll out, have a poor game and get beaten. So it's either that, or it's like that next level, that's going to come next year. Because heading into this game, I was just a little bit reluctant to back the Dogs because I just felt Manly Seagulls, they've got these superstars in key positions that have been there and done it, and that extra little level, and plus the size of the Manly pack, I just felt like they may be able to go to another level. And I felt like we did see that on the weekend where that Manly forward pack just said, we are going straight through your front door because we know you're not the biggest pack. And Paseka had, like, the game of his career. And I think that the Bulldogs, usually they almost managed to reel it in. I just think it was a little bit too much for them on the weekend.
I've thought, you know, since pre-season, the Bulldogs, their pack is just too small. And I've been wrong every single week. This is the first time in a long time I've looked at them and gone, fuck, have they got the pack to be able to go in finals? I know it's only 1 week, 100%, but you're going to come up against forward packs like this that are revved up every single week. That was put a bit of a question mark on Canterbury for me.
Yeah, there was so much hype leading into this game. I think the equal third best attack in the competition against the best defence in the competition, what was going to reign supreme, and obviously, as we now know, it was Manly quite prolifically. They, for the first time, the most points they conceded all year, the Dogs, was 26, and Manly have gone out and put 34 on them with a really clinical display. They completed at 85%. I'm willing to put it down to a down week. I thought they've been up for so long, the Doggies, and I thought last week against the Warriors, SJ's home farewell, I thought that was going to be it, and they got up for that one and were tremendous. This was a down week. So we don't want to see it back-to-back, of course, and it's great like they have another massive clash coming up this week, but I think it was a one-off, a down week. Really keen to see how the Pack will go in finals time, but I'm not going to put a line through them based on one game against a really, really good Seagulls performance. Manly, they were terrific.
Yeah, terrific. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I think if I had to, if we were heading into finals footy and you had to, place your bets on what the issue is for each side, if I'm being honest, I probably would say my concern is just that extra little step, and the Bulldogs are so early in their journey. However, I am not ready to put that line through them because they've been up for so long. We're talking about a team that has been, you have to remember, they didn't actually start the season that well. They actually didn't start the season that well.
They started dreadfully.
And so, it's actually been this, last, what do you reckon, 15, maybe 10 weeks really, where everyone's gone, holy shit. Not just the Bulldogs might make the 8. It's gone to the degree of, holy shit, they can make the top 4. And so,
in the first month, they lost to Para and South, who was last and third last.
Yeah. And so they've been up for so long. It may just be a natural, eventually you're going to have a down game.
And don't get me wrong, as a standalone game, this was disappointing from the Doggies. A big game, they expected a lot more. As long as it doesn't happen back to back and they respond this week against the Cowboys, then it's fine. But every team has a down week.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we've literally just seen the Panthers and the Roosters, who are premiership contenders, they've both had down weeks and lost. It happens.
Yeah. And and to be clear, every team has something in their game that could be their Achilles heels heading into finals. So when I say I'm just not sure whether the Bulldogs have the size in their forward pack to take that extra step, that's not to suggest that's a unique problem that only they have. For example, Manly, I'm just not sure about their consistency. Can they consistently play the way they played on the weekend for 4 games in a row? That's their Achilles heel. And then you look at other teams like Cowboys, a consistency. You've got Penrith. Are they running out of steam? Are they too much gone through? So it's not to suggest that Bulldogs are the only ones that have problems heading into finals footy, or have a potential problem. Okay.
I'll tell you what, before, again, you don't want to dwell on the past, and every club could argue this at some point during the year, but Manly's lost to the Tigers 2 weeks ago. If they won that, they're playing for a top 4 spot and a second chance in finals against the Sharks this week.
Manly stings. With 2 shot bites at the cherry is scary.
Terrifying.
Because they're so up and down. Okay, we'll talk about Manly first, and then we'll get into the Doggies. Manly, obviously, the big talking point is Tommy Turbo. Now they've confirmed it's an AC. He'll be back for finals footy. The implication I got from Seibold is he's probably going to be getting needled up for that game. I'm just stoked it's not a long term, and I'm stoked that it's not a leg injury. So it's just a natural injury most footy players pick up during a season, or a lot of footy players pick up during the season, because by God, Tommy Turbo is putting up before that injury, and obviously the last few seasons. It's not getting talked about as much as it should be getting talked about. This guy's hitting back peak form.
Oh, yeah, and people at home will say, oh, fucking easy in hindsight. I said it in my group chat, when he got the original leg injury, I can't believe they left him on. They're up by about 20 points or so. I would have taken him straight away.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but with a guy like him, with his history, when you're 2 weeks away from playing finals, I would have got him off the
field.
field.
In Tommy's head, he's sitting there going, I can't deal with another headline week of me being taken from the field with a leg injury. I think he's telling the trainer, nah, I'm sweet, because he would be sitting there going, I can't deal with it again. I can't deal with me being taken off with a leg injury and they're just getting smashed throughout the whole week that I'm gone again.
The other thing that would have hurt was just Saab only lasting 23 minutes. So that probably screwed with the rotations and the opportunity to do that. That being said, when it's Tom Trbojevic and he's key to your title aspirations and you've got a comfortable lead, you just find a way. But
yeah, it's a really hard one because I can guarantee Tommy would have been absolutely saying I'm sweet.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting told by a player that you're sweet and there's no actual, you can't see any kind of damage as a physio, it's very hard to just go, nah, you have to come off.
How fucked was it when the camera panned back to him, he was on the floor, looked like he got out of a car accident. You were just going, oh my God, what is happening?
Everything that could go wrong in that tackle did go wrong.
Did go wrong, yeah.
Fucking hell. But in regards to Manly's look, if this forward pack can just give me that each week, bloody hell, they're going to be hard to stop because that's their one question is the consistency of their forward pack. But they were just like, I'd almost never seen that from they were almost bullies out there. Like I haven't really seen a Manly pack bully someone in a few years. But the confidence where they went into this game of going, we are bigger and stronger than you, and you aren't going to be able to keep up with it. Like Paseka, career best game. Guru's
been telling him to look in the mirror for 2 years. He finally did it.
Finally listened.
They installed mirrors in his house, you reckon?
Yeah, they put him in. Boys, I thought Brooksy had a huge bounce back from a very disappointing game last week against the West Tigers. I thought some of his plays in this, right? That ball that he threw to Carl Lawton, that was special.
Silky stuff. Did hit a one-on-one steal later on too, I think?
Yeah, well, there's that little passage there, 50 minutes got written down. It was 24-12 at the time, game on the line, Manly camped in their own end. DC nailed that 40-20, went upfield, they did turn it over, and then Brooksy came up with that one-on-one strip on Curran. They scored the next set. Yeah. So, like, that strip, big moment.
Big play by Brooksy, and he's really, I mean, it's weird. You'd almost think that he'd attract massive headlines this year, but he's almost flown under the radar, especially his back end of the season. He's been great the back end. Aside from the week against Tigers, which, look, yes, it's a bit worrisome for me that he still struggled in such a big game against Tigers, but that worry erased because the Bulldogs was also a big game, and I can almost go, you know what? There is so much bloody trauma from that club. I can understand why going back there is just like, it just got to him. It just got to him. Because if the Manly Seagulls had played like, you know, a bottom table team, and then he killed it, I'd be like, well, the question for Brooksy for me is, will he crumble under the pressure of finals footy? So the best team, or one of the best teams to play, are the Dogs. It's almost finals footy atmosphere. For him to have a good performance, almost goes, okay, yep, all good. Last week, a very unique experience for him. I can kind of put that aside. So I think Brooksy's ready to go for finals footy.
What about Leo Albuado? What a find.
Fuck.
Like, he goes from being, in my opinion, an extended squad member to, like, he's getting picked over Kohler.
Mate, he's like, I don't know what it is, but he's like, it's not natural ability because he's the one making these decisions, but his ability to make like the right call, put his body in the right position, under it, like it's almost like when Cody Walker was at his best, the ball would just like bounce where he was going to be at, rather than he had to be where the ball was. He must have some sixth sense of, or played rugby league so much that all these like little nuances come naturally to him, because his ability to just like some of his offloads, for example, he's not that big. He shouldn't be able to create the space that he creates to get the offload, but he does. It is, but like, it's so incredible to watch.
I could believe it. I was surprised when Kohler didn't get picked to start in this team. Like, I think he's one of the best centres in the NRL, Kohler, or certainly developing into one of, particularly defensively. And yeah, like, Siebes was vindicated in his decision because they beat the Doggies and quite comfortably. But like, even Kohler, when he came on, he made a one-on-one tackle on Skelton, point blank on the line, on the try line. He was wrong-footed and managed to hit him and stick him, get him down. I was like, this bloke's not making your starting back line. Shows a good position that Manly are in right now.
We spoke about in the preseason when there was talk of Turbo playing centre, you know, who would be the fullback, and it was Kohler or Garrick. I reckon Lehigh could get named there this week.
Oh, Lehigh's absolutely should get named there.
Unbelievable.
Like, absolutely. And that's why it was a bit bizarre that Seabold put him in there, and then for some reason he played there for 5 to 6 weeks, and then Kohler got put there, and Tommy went to centre, and we were like, "What the hell? If you're gonna put Lehigh there, anyway." Regardless, it's all worked out for better. I got to say, like, look, he's still got a lot to prove in the NRL, but so far, and we'll wait to see how they go in finals footy. But so far, he copped a lot of crap for his recruitments in the off season. Seabold, Tommy Talau's killed it. Brooks has killed it. Obviously, bringing Lehigh has been, he's been outstanding. Who else has been? Nathan Brown has killed it.
Yeah.
There's an argument to be made. Manly's recruitment, outside of maybe the Doggies, is the best in the competition in the off season.
Yeah, it's right up there. Yeah.
Brown has been fucking a revelation. Yeah. Lehigh, you could argue, if he had more time to play, would be potentially challenging Galvin for Rookie of the Year, especially if he stayed at fullback. Then you've got Tommy Talau, who just like came through the grades as one of the best in the competition, best in his age. Couldn't find the form at the Tigers. All of a sudden, he's now keeping guys like Cooler out of the side. Like, Seabold deserves a massive rap for that.
Yeah, bloody oath he does. Yeah, they've done incredibly well, the Manly Seagulls, and I know there's a few teams like this, but they are right up there with the top. I just don't want to play you in
You
finals.
don't want to play on the finals. Fuck that. Because they're just spinning the ball left,
Yeah.
right. What do you do?
That Doggies left edge leading into this game were the best defensive edge in the competition. They'd conceded 17 tries all year. The next best was the Panthers with 19, and then I think that Sharkies right edge with Raymond with thereabouts as well. But every other one had conceded 20 plus. Ruben Garrick, a bloke who'd played, to my knowledge, wing and fullback for the most part of basically his entire NRL career, comes out a try and 2 assists, absolutely schooled him. What a performance.
He's been built into that, Garrick. I know you guys had misgivings about putting him at centre, I think it was last year.
Yep. I still had him this year.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like him at centre. I don't know what it is. I just think top speed wise, when you've got guys like Hopewadi and Saab as genuine finishers, and Garrick's actually a bit of a bigger body, and he's actually quite like nifty with offloads. I'm not saying that he's had like the best year ever and like lock him into that centre position, but I reckon the more time he gets there, I think he can develop into a good
In
one.
attack, I have no question marks
Yeah.
around the ball. It's just him
Defensively.
defensively this year has been caught out on a number of occasions. But
I feel
centre's
like-
hard. It takes time.
I agree with you. I feel like the back end he's been a bit better.
Yeah. I felt similar. And you've been watched pretty closely, obviously, Roo, but back end of the year a lot better. Like earlier on in the year, there was definitely a few.
It was
Yeah,
pretty
for
bad
sure,
earlier on.
And as we said, centre's a fucking hard
Yeah.
position. Like, it takes time.
So yeah, Garrick, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Probably he had a really good game last year at centre. But okay, yeah, the argument was he was playing centre against bottom tier sides. I think that was the question that you guys had was like against good sides, how is he going to go?
Yeah.
Which is a fair question, but probably the best game he's had at centre. Because he was unstoppable. He was unstoppable.
That little the try assist of him off the scrum, the set play off the scrum move was such a good try.
Try, 2 try assists, 143 metres, 43 breaks contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists. But to your point though, Roo,
I just saw that.
8 missed tackles.
Which I didn't notice.
I didn't notice it either.
Oh, yeah.
Roo goes bang.
Roo goes bang.
Yeah, but live, I didn't.
I didn't
I
see
agree with
that.
you. I think he's
Me either.
improved
Yeah,
defensively.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's interesting. That'll be something to watch because that is fucking a lot. Watching the game, I think that Garrick's defence, pretty much since the Manly Seagulls have sorted out their losing big leads, I think his defence has been pretty good. So you're looking at like maybe six weeks or so, his defence has been solid. However, fucking 8 missed tackles, holy
He's
shit.
worst of the season by distance. Yeah.
Oh,
They're not all equal though. So
Yeah. I had in my notes, another thing that we kind of haven't given Manly credit for, they've been missing their hooker the whole year pretty much, Croker. Croker back, that's a big in.
back and playing 80.
Yeah.
Huge, which allows them then to be able to, stack this bench with forwards and go at them.
So really, really good stuff. Obviously, DC was good again. Lehigh, yeah. So look, great win for Manly. And Ola Kawatu, we haven't mentioned he made our team of the week, but fuck, he has had such a consistent year. I reckon he's had probably 2 quiet games. You reckon 3 max this
He's
year?
been good this year.
Whereas for majority of the game, like 90% of the season, he's in the top 3 best players on the field for Manly.
I'll tell you who I reckon is going to be a great signing next year for the Cowboys is Carl Lawton. They're losing Jake Granville. Mr.
he's
Can
been
cover everything.
awesome.
And Lawton's been fantastic for Manly this year.
Especially in an era of like, you've watched how the Bulldogs have been able to turn these kind of utility players into like specific, like
Yeah.
really good play, like Kurt Mann. Then you've got Connor Watson, who was a utility player. It's almost like it is the year of the utility to a degree.
Lawton's always been good. He's just had a torrid run of injuries.
Yes.
Yeah. Alrighty, onto the doggies. Look, the tough thing is like, okay, now it is almost being presented to the rest of the internet. Granted, I know a lot of other teams would have plenty of video on the Bulldogs, and we've been saying it for so long how small their forward pack is. However, it's almost like there was like, for many years, they used to think it was physically impossible to run the kilometre in like a certain time, and then one bloke broke the kilometre 3:30 or whatever it was, and then it just kept getting broken after it. And people were like, it was supposed to not be scientifically possible, and then it just kept happening year on year. The worry for the Bulldogs is now that it has been fully shown, if you are fucking big boys through the middle, quick play the balls, and just front foot, it is very hard to... that is a way to beat the Bulldogs, and almost it's the antithesis of the smaller mobile pack. The worry for the doggies is the blueprint is there now. However, it may have just been a down week.
It was the great Roger Bannister in the 4-minute mile you're thinking of.
Yeah,
mate.
there you go.
Stunned the world when he broke the 4-minute barrier.
Fucking Roger, eh? Fucking Roger.
The original Roger the Dodger.
And so that, I guess that is the worry or the concern going into finals footy for the Dogs is that, it could have just been a down week and we just go, look, down week, all good, and we're back to business next week. Or it could be, oh shit, kind of like what happened with Penrith. Like we've been saying for weeks that Penrith right edge is a huge concern. Now it's like everyone can see it, everyone's going for it. And so I just wonder how Ciraldo's going to handle that in the next few weeks.
Well, I mean, this week is finals footy for them. They're playing the Cowboys at home. For a home final and whatnot. If the Cowboys beat Canterbury this week, I'm looking at the Bulldogs very differently all of a sudden.
Confidence gets rattled. Yep. You only got one bite of the cherry in finals footy.
You've got two teams that are willing to move the ball around that could knock you off.
I'll say this, Doggies fans. Whatever happens from here going on, please appreciate how good the year has been. Yep. Don't allow these next couple of weeks, and I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but don't allow these next couple of weeks to take the shine off what's been an absolutely incredible season.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you were this close to top 4 a couple of weeks ago.
Well, you're still this close to top 4.
Pretty much. So, be really proud of what has been achieved. And I'm not writing the obituary or whatever. Yeah, you're on 34 points, and which is literally a win. I tell you what, actually, if the Sharks lose again and you guys win this week,
they need to obliterate.
Okay, yeah, 202 the differential. You came this close to top 4. Please don't allow, if anything goes wrong over the next couple of weeks, take away from that. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I'm nervous about this game for Canterbury, if I'm honest, but I'm so excited to see how this pack responds because it's the first time they've really had their pants pulled down.
Yeah. The worst thing for them is the Cowboys nearly got their pants pulled down so Peyton will be up them, looking for a bounce back. And the tough thing for the Dogs is they've gone, what do they go, Dragons, Manly, Cowboys? Or was there someone in between them? Anyway, let's just say it was the Dragons, Cowboys. Sorry, Dragons, Manly, Cowboys. They're essentially playing finals footy 3 weeks in a row, which is it's almost a bit unfair on them because they're locked in. However, because they're the flavour of the month, a lot of teams are going down. They're going, fuck these guys. Everyone loves the Bulldogs right now.
Well, the winner will play 8th place, be it Dolphins, Knights, Drags, whatever it might be. The loser plays Manly. Potentially in Manly, so big game.
Huge game. If I'm Bulldogs, I'm way more confident playing the Dolphins or the Knights.
Getting the Seagulls.
I said no one wants to play Seagulls, I reckon.
Seagulls, Tommy Turbo back ready to go. Yuck. In regards to performances, I like that, even though they got blown off the park, they showed fight towards the end, jagged a few back. The Fox show, he's still got life in those legs. Jeez, they still move, baby. They still move. I thought Bronson Cherry was outstanding. What an incredible year. 19 runs, 254 metres, 63 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists, 12 tackles. What I love about Bronson Cherry is that his ability to round out his game. And Ciraldo, he had a really, you can go and listen to it, Matty Johns and Cooper Johns' podcast. I actually interviewed Ciraldo this week. And they talked about how Ciraldo was like, mate, I wasn't even sure he would even get a look into the first grade side until maybe mid-year, let alone the start of the year. And he said he probably actually deserved to get a crack to begin the year, but I wanted to be really sure that he was ready to go. And he just couldn't praise Bronson Cherry's how hard he has worked throughout the season enough, Ciraldo, which is super in a year where Ciraldo can praise pretty much every player in his squad. He's praising Cherry like that. And I won't go into detail because I don't want to spill the beans, but I tell you what, when Ciraldo says Cherry was struggling at training, I actually went for a run at the start of the year and actually ran into the Doggies when they were doing a fitness session. And when he says he was struggling, that's an understatement by about fucking a million. And I say that as a compliment to how far Cherry has come because he comes out, it's arguably the biggest game of the year for them and has 19 runs for 254 metres. He's managed to do that in the space of one season. It's an incredible story.
And even from, when you saw that and stuff 4 weeks later when he made his comeback at, I think it was Belmore, the trial against Melbourne, even that night, I know it was against reserve grade stuff, he sort of went, fuck, this guy's ahead of where I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
And the way that he's put it all together, His position hasn't been questioned at all all season.
And like Bronson Xerri doing the tough stuff. He didn't do that as a rookie. He was the tip of the spear.
Sorry, Campbell.
There you go.
He hadn't played in 4 years, and now he's on the best defensive edge in the competition statistically.
Bizarre. And also, the questions we had from him at the start of the year was his defence.
Yeah.
In New South Wales Cup, we were just like, he's got to work on his defence. It's an amazing story, and it's such a really important story about redemption and how everyone deserves a second chance, or nearly everyone deserves a second chance, because even me, when he came back into the game, obviously having played sport myself, I'm so against performance enhancing. Like, it's like really the one place I find it hard to forgive someone. So even me, I was like, but look what he's managed to do. And that's what rugby league's about. It's a game of second chances. The guy is still, 23, 24 years old. He's still got a whole decade in front of him. And he has earned every praise he gets because no one gave to him. He literally wasn't allowed to play any sports during that whole time of 4 years. And now he's doing what he's doing. It's an incredible story about second chances and backing yourself when no one else does. And now we're sitting on here praising him, and he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it.
Especially, he was like 18 or 19 when he did it. Like, imagine an 18 or 19-year-old doing something dumb.
Oh,
like, shock. It does tend to happen.
Shock me. And so, it's a great story about redemption. It's a great story for a young fella or woman that it doesn't matter how low you are, you can always come back. And Bronson Xerri proved that this season. It's been incredible. And like, it's not like he just came back and it all worked out. I promise you, he's had to grind for that.
Another one that he signed a couple of weeks ago and didn't get that much attention. Jeez, I reckon Gerald Skelton's going to be a good signing for the Tigers. Got a bit of Tuaki to it.
You know what gives me confidence too is how good of a coach Serraldo is.
Yeah.
You know, like if you get a Skelton in another club that without good coaching and you go, you know what, he's probably not going to fulfill his potential. I've got so much faith in Serraldo now. I go, I'll almost be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll go really well over there.
Another bloke who I am so excited for, I thought Jacob Preston was outstanding.
Yeah.
The fact that he did what he did on the back foot, losing against a side like Manly where it looked like basically they, were done and dusted, and then he's line breaks turned the tide. You got to remember, he's been injured for a lot of the season, and he was their player of the year last year. In the big game, you would have thought Kickout comes out as the superstar. It was Jacob Preston. A try, 10 runs, 130 metres, 30 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, an offload, 36 tackles, 0 misses on the edge, 0 errors. Because he was so good as a breakout star last year for the Doggies, then he's had his injury concerns this year. He's flown so much under the radar, but he'll get a start in Origin in the next few years on an edge. It might be through injuries or whatever it might be, and he'll come in and he'll never lose it. It'll be like Liam Martin, like Josh Jackson back in the day. Reminds me of Josh Jackson.
He's not like a superstar, but he's a toiler. He runs a good line, and he'll just come in and get it, and he'll take it with both hands.
Yeah.
This time 2 years ago, he's on Mad Monday with the Bears New South Wales Cup as an unknown.
Yeah. Well, he was under the Roosters' noses there for a bit. And then just, boom, Bulldogs get him. And that was when Serraldo came in, the Bulldogs picked him up.
Yep.
So, Jacob Preston, and also this new era of the Blues, he suits the criteria of what you want in that jersey, which is a guy that's going to bleed blue. So look, great game. Great game to watch. Obviously disappointing for the Bulldogs, but there's still so many shining lights. I hope they bounce back. Panthers defeat South 34-12. Weird one for me, really weird. Because it's 34-12, good solid win. South aren't as bad as they were at the start of the season. They were missing Cam Murray. I have to be honest, if I'm looking at the Panthers, geez, they just look banged up. If Cleary comes back and it just all clicks, then I won't be surprised even in the slightest. But I just wonder, is it inhumane? Is it almost impossible for these poor blokes to be up for as long as... I feel like, outside looking in, I don't have any inside detail, but I feel like a lot of these blokes' bodies are absolutely screaming for an off-season rest.
As they should be.
Which is 100%, like it should have happened 2 years ago, seriously.
And like everyone's rightly so talking about they've won 3 premierships. They've been to 4 grand finals in a row.
And the season that they lost the grand final, they had that crazy win run.
Yeah, and you have a look at, we've said it a million times and it's just about to confirm now, but like literally the last 3 teams that have made it to the grand final aren't playing finals footy this year. Like, it's hard to stay relevant, let alone at the peak of the mountain. I I tend to believe that when Nath returns, it sort of will fall into place. I think there is a little bit of treading water going on at the moment, which they tend to do. They wait for September. They can get that home final in September and, only have 3 games to go. Like, as you said, mate, I think the most obvious one is Dill Edwards. He's got to be, mate. He looks shot.
He looks like a guy that has just put his body through the absolute ringer for nearly half a decade.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, at the end of the year when we get to, like, rep duties and everything. I reckon a lot of these blokes are going to have to pull out.
I can say.
Yeah, well, I think even Luai, I think he needs a shoulder recap. They said he's not going to be playing. I'm pretty sure Luai's out of Samoa. Could you Google that just to be sure? Please don't take that as gospel. I think I read it somewhere that he actually won't play for Samoa this.
And if Edwards is playing for the Kangaroos at the end of the year, I'll give it away. He's got to just have a spell, sure.
It's a hard one for Edwards as well because he's not exactly a stalwart of the Kangaroos.
Yeah.
He played on the wing, I think.
On the wing, but that fullback jersey.
If he gets that jersey, he's taking it with both hands.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, of all the players there, he's the one that you go. I was actually a little bit surprised they sort of brought him back when he did. Again, I don't know the medical situation, but could he have used another 2 weeks off because he doesn't look anywhere near his best fitness wise. Yeah.
And like, you got Dane Laurie there who can come in and do a job for you.
I guess from Ivan's perspective is like he understands it's not just going to click straight away.
Yeah.
And he's trying to build into something. And Dane Laurie, for as good as he is, he still has a few errors and some moments in the game where it can kind of he can just lose concentration where Edwards doesn't. So I wonder whether he's just trying to get those combinations. And also, Ivan Cleary might be going, I need Luai and Edwards to play together as much as possible.
Yes, yeah.
That's what makes Isaiah Yo's performance even more incredible. Mate, this guy is made of something else. His mental resilience must be, if they could do some kind of test for it, would be off the charts. Off the charts.
He won't be in conversations for Dally medal or anything like that, but mate, he's been a top 5 player this year for me. He's been, and there's an argument just because the position he plays, he doesn't get the highlights and the accolades and all that sort of stuff. Week to week, I think he's been right up there with the best player in the comp this year.
So good. He's so good.
The first try assist for the Fisher Harris opener, he had so many options. Like, it's one thing to go to the line and have the ball up and a few runs and have options, but that every one of them is executed so perfectly in such genuine options. Like, he went there and there was he could have played short to Fisher Harris. He could dummy and go himself. He could go out the back to Luai. I said, don't get me wrong. That's the shape every time. But there's one thing to do it and go through the motions, and there's one thing to be able to execute it. But he hits the advantage line at such speed that the defence are backpedaling and they're just like, shit, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? And then all of it dummies, goes through, offloads to Fisher Harris. It's just class.
It's class. And it's one thing to have that shape, but the amount of 13s that run that shape and they're not going to pass the ball to certain players because they haven't put their bodies in, like they're either running too fast or their body's not square enough or their ball playing's poor. What have you got there in regards to?
Not much. Okay.
All right, take that back in regards to Luai and Samoa. I don't know why I read that.
I think that was the key that I was sort of trying to get out, Kempy, and every one of the options was as dangerous as each other, and you did not know which way he was going to go because everything was such, the timing was just also perfectly in sync.
Yeah, so like Isaiah Yeo, just, in 10 years' time, when they look back on this premiership, Nathan Cleary's name will come up, Critter's name will come up, Isaiah Yeo, Fisher Harris, Leota. But I tell you what, it probably get lost in the noise, but real rugby league fans that actually have watched this past 4 years, they will tell you there was a guy by the name of Isaiah Yeo, and he was top 3 most important players in this team that won that 3-time premiership. As I said, and then they could go on to win 4, because he doesn't do all the highlight reel stuff. To the wider audience, it might be forgotten, but I'm telling you right now, Penrith fans aren't going to forget what Isaiah Yeo has done for this club.
It's going to be very interesting, like at the end of whenever this Penrith run is, whether they win 4, whether they win 5, 6 over 8 years, or whatever it might be. Like, I think they'll win more premierships in the future, and it'll be interesting to see how many guys are actually a part of all of them, because Isaiah Yeo's got to be one of them.
Yeah,
and like there will be a time where, and I'm not saying that Nath isn't a leader in this team, but there will be a time where Isaiah Yeo is a little bit older. He won't be in this side anymore, and it'll be left to Nath. It'll be interesting to see the impact losing Isaiah has on this franchise.
Yeah, because that first year when Nath struggled, Yeo wasn't. He became the 13 later in the year, if I recall correctly.
So, yeah.
At the very least, he was new to the 13 role. And the amount of times that Yeo create space for Liu, Jerome Luai, and also Cleary. It's like unbelievable the amount of time.
What's the age difference between those two, between Nathan and Isaiah Yeo? Like,
I think he's 28. I think he's 28, around 27, 28. So he's actually still got a few years left in him.
Okay, it's not as big as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yo's 29.
29.
And what's Nath?
26.
26, so 3
Okay.
years.
I thought it was more. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, Isaiah Yeo and his consistency. Like, when was the last time you said Isaiah Yeo had a Barry Crocker? I honestly cannot remember it.
I don't think it happens.
Like, you can say, his style of play didn't have impact for New South Wales, but you can never say that he played extremely poorly, had dropped balls, didn't get through his work. And then for Panthers, like, I can't even find a game where he hasn't played well. Like, he's always been in their top 5 players, if not top 3 players. Very rarely is he not. The work that he gets through, it's just, you got a front rower that can also be a link man. And so he's trusted so much so as a link man, sometimes the Panthers put him as the third link man over a fullback.
Yeah.
Like, usually it goes Cleary, Luai, there's usually a fullback there. They go, no, we're going to put Isaiah Yeo out there, and he's going to ball play and hit a short outside, an edge back rower.
The other one I thought was amazing, mate. Paul Alamotti coming back into this side. He, like, I've spoken about it a number of times, like, coming through juniors, he was just untouchable. He was a juggernaut. And going into Canterbury last year, looked a little bit sluggish, a little bit slow, but I feel like he's really starting to come into his own at Penrith.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the graphic again, but I saw it pop up and they did like the Telstra tracker for quicker speeds this year. He was like 3rd or 4th on it with like 37 kilometres per hour. That astounded me. Like, with his size, and again, like, I've never looked at him and gone, oh my God, you're lightning, but if he has clocked that speed, which I'm sure he has, oh wow.
Yeah, he's a big, big boy. And again, he's 20 years old? Like, how quickly we almost like write blokes off and say, oh yeah, it didn't work at the Bulldogs, it's not going to work. He's got so much more time to develop his game. And really, the only part of his game he needs to develop is probably his defence, which can happen very quickly. Like, it's a whole nother preseason at the Panthers. He absolutely can be a good defensive edge for the Panthers. Another guy, Luai, for me, I thought he was outstanding. Probably took him an extra game. Like, he didn't set the world alight last week, but I felt this week he looked... Interestingly, with him at 7, they actually do play quite differently to when Cleary's at 7. And they actually can be a bit more unpredictable with him at 7 than Cleary, which who knows? Like, obviously you want... When Cleary comes back in, he's the main man, but like, sometimes just to freshen it up and almost becoming unpredictable is like, maybe that's what the Panthers need heading into this new final series. Again, you want Cleary at 7, he's always going to be unbelievable, but there might be something there. There might be something there for Ivan to explore in this final series of maybe we give Luai a little bit more ball just to mix it up a bit for the defence.
So what I did love in this game, and, you know, coming off the back of that point, like, I'd look up sometimes and, you know, you get so used to guys nowadays playing left and right sides and whatnot. Like, sometimes I'd look up and go, fuck, who's playing what side with these halves? And I love, you saw at the back end of last year when Nath started to do that, and I assume as soon as Nath returns, he'll just be playing both sides of the ruck and just creating havoc there.
Yep, absolutely. Fisher Harris, I thought, was outstanding. He obviously had a try, 113 metres, 43 post contact. He seems to be finding his you know, like Fisher Harris and Leota, like every time finals footy rolls around, they just go boop, up another level. So, like, you know, was it the resounding dominance that I thought that they probably would come out and, like, did I think that I thought they'd come out and just blow Rabbitohs off the park? They didn't really do that. However, maybe that was wrong of me to expect that, because that's not really what the Panthers are about. The Panthers are about getting into a grind and scoring a lot of points at the back end of the game. And that's kind of what they did. Like, it was a relatively close game for a lot of it. And then the Panthers just said, all right, thanks for coming. Boom, boom, boom. 34-12, very convincing win. So, like, you know, are the Panthers back, ready to go? I'm probably not there yet. However, good, solid win. Cleary comes back into this side. I do think that there's something to be said for, as much as you want them to be up for season footy, like, would it really excite them? Like, would they really be that pumped up, excited?
They're a September football team.
Yeah, like they've done this for so many years now. They're playing the Rabbitohs. You know, as much as Ivan Cleary can go, look what happened last week and we lost to the Storm, that's not good enough. I'm sure a part of them is going to be like, mate, we're in the finals, we've been here, we've done it. I do kind of sense that they're probably waiting for finals. The only concern I have is will their bodies allow them to go again?
Yeah, and I think so, mate. You look at this result, you go 34-12. Did they look convincing in terms of like finals prospects compared to what we've seen in recent years? Not necessarily, but as you said, they conceded 2 tries. I think one of Ty Munro's was an interceptor off a loose ball around the field sort of thing. It's like defensive effort, pretty sound. They put on 34 points. A couple more weeks. Hopefully Edwards can overcome a few of the little niggles he's got. Cleary back in. They'll be ready to go.
Well, that's the difference between Panthers and nearly every other team. Even when they're not convincing, they still keep their opposition to 12 points.
The big one as well, the Raiders getting the win over the Roosters yesterday. It gives Penrith a
bit of breathing room.
Well, it'll give them the home final, provided they knock off the Titans. So, big factor.
Yeah, I hate to be a Debbie Downer.
Any shout-outs?
Shout out Debbie. Tungle, again. Mm-hmm. Not great. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. I don't know what. He's not the Tungle even at the start of this year. I mean, at the start of this year, he had one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. And then, I don't know, since midway, he just hasn't seemed to, just take away defence. Like, let's just take out defence. Even in attack, he hasn't really been that aggressive, dominant centre that he had been in past weeks. So much so that you're like, mate, he could play in the forwards. Bit of a quiet game again for Tungle.
56 run meters. For Premier Centre, that's, well, for the guy that I thought was Premier Centre at the start of this season, yeah, very disappointing.
Well, yeah, like I've said for months that I would have dropped him just to give him a bit of a wake-up call and to knock out any complacency in his game. But now you're like, you're a week out from finals. Do you want to be changing your centre who's been there all season? Not really. You think you got to. You can't. I don't think you can drop him now. You just got to stick with it and go sort this out.
Yep, 5 missed tackles as well. Suni Turuva, I thought he was 2 tries. 141 metres, 3 tackle breaks, a line break. I thought it was pretty good.
Good bounce back.
Good bounce back game. All right, now on to the Rabbitohs just quickly. First of all, thoughts with Tyrone Munro, who had some family members pass away throughout the week. Incredibly brave to be able to, suit up, score 2 tries and, really do them proud. 190 metres, 2 tries. What a stand-up young man to have the mental strength to do that. And definitely our thoughts are with Tyrone. Won't spend that long on the Rabbitohs. Look, pretty good performance in regards to where they are on the ladder, but we've already kind of said our piece with the Rabbitohs. Anything to add with the Rabbitohs, boys?
Not a mate. Just on Ty, we said it last week, but just mate, take out all the off-field stuff and just his body at the moment,
mate. When he feels out,
he's going to be terrifying. You think next year you're going to have Campbell Graham and him on that edge? Fuck, if I was a Bunnies fan, I'd be so excited about next year.
Campbell Graham and Munro, that's a scary, scary edge.
Yeah, I just want to echo it, Kempy. Tyrone Munro to lose 2 family members this week and come out and suit up against Penrith in Penrith and put on a great performance. The ticker and toughness he's shown there, that's remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, good, very impressive young man for sure. Alrighty, let's get to the Eels versus Dragons. Look, I know Eels fans will probably want us to spend a long time on this because it's been a long time coming. What I will say with the Eels is I feel like they've deserved this win for quite a while. They've just as soon as their form has kind of picked up, they've just ran into Roosters, the Broncos, even though the Broncos haven't been going great, but Roosters, all the top tier sides, Storm, Penrith. And so they've kind of almost their great form hasn't been converting to 2 points. Now, granted, the Dragons nearly reeled them back in, which was outrageous. However, the exciting thing for the Eels is games like this show that there's the skeleton of a bloody good footy side there. And I don't think it's going to be as far way back as people may have thought it was earlier in this year.
This game was insane. I was out there, and the last 10 minutes, Dragons actually got so much closer than I even realised. They were, because the tries all happened so quickly. It felt like 3. It was 5 or 6. Yeah. It was unbelievable. I agree with you though, mate. I think, mate, when you look at that Parramatta side, even when they're warming up pre-game and you're looking at the guys that are there and the guys on the sideline and whatnot, it is outrageous they're playing for a spoon next week. It is just insanity because there's so much talent there. And even on the field here the other day, so much talent out there. I thought Gutho, mate, just watching him live, he just doesn't stop.
Does not stop.
He must be one of the fittest blokes in this league. Yeah. He is everywhere.
Yeah. It's so interesting. There's been whispers that he may change position next year. Riles has come out and basically said that he wants to keep him as a key part of the squad. Now, there were talks of maybe potentially a 13 role. I don't know about that. I think making him make that many tackles in the middle, there was already concerns about injuries and back end of his career. I can see him moving in the back line, though, if Iongi is the guy that they've decided to go at fullback. I personally still think Gutho would be the best fullback at the club. I know they're looking for speed and X factor, but I don't know. Two tries, a try assist, I feel like he's still got it, to be honest.
I don't hate the idea of the move of guys like Gutho jumping in the 13 jersey having to crack there, but I think Gutho, with his body and what he puts himself through, I think you got to protect him from himself. I don't think for him it's the right fit. I think if you don't want to play him at fullback to get Iongi or someone in, centre has to be the spot. I think
Surely.
He'd be a great roaming centre. I'm with you. I still think he's their number one fullback going into next year, but if they really want to get Iongi in there, roaming centre, I think he'd do a terrific job. Micah Sivo, boys, I thought was tremendous in this one. A hat-trick of tries, 4 line breaks. He had a great try assist for Gutho as well. And I think the rightly so, he was dropped to New South Wales Cup. It was a big decision to make it happen, but I just think it was a good little wake-up call for Micah, who prolific try scorer, had a few defensive issues in his game. We've always been critical of his meters and his running game that a little bit, but just a good one to be like, mate, you can score as many tries as you want. If you're not doing the little things in the effort areas in this game, you won't be playing NRL. Really good bounce back, and hopefully he can take that into sort of next year and go, no, I've got to earn and keep this spot.
Well, this is the Sivo, this is his potential. This is where he should be, week in, week out. One of the most damaging, if not the most damaging, close to the line winger in the game.
There's that one where, might have been his first try, Lomax and Sewer. Lomax got a really good shot on him, good contact.
Couldn't do much
came
more.
over the top. No. And
both of them couldn't do
goes,
anymore.
Get off me, and slammed it down. You're like, how do you stop that?
That try from Sivo is both of those defenders. Lomax put his body in front, gave it everything he's got. Sewer came flying across. They literally couldn't have done more as defenders, but Sivo, that's what he brings. He has such a unique ability where he can score a try in that situation.
Well, you have a look at the try scoring list. I think Dom Young's had a tremendous season. He's 19 tries from 19 games. Sivo's 15 from 11 games.
It's crazy.
In the team coming second last.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see him under a new coach in Riles, because I think that comfortability factor that we saw come into his game this year obviously won't be there heading into next year. And also, you've seen the reaction Sivo. He doesn't want to play reserve grade, clearly. And when Riles comes in, it's going to be, everyone will almost be walking a bit around on eggshells, because you want to get a contract, you want to be in the first grade side, because that can only mean good things for the Eels. Sivo at his best is unbelievable, and I think we saw that on the weekend. I thought he was outstanding. But player of the match for me was Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
A try, 3 try assists, 19 runs, 176 metres, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists, and offload, 22 tackles, only 3 misses. He is electric ball runner, an absolutely electric ball runner. And, it just sucks that we didn't see him and Mitchell Moses again this year, building, developing, because those two together, when they click next year, almost unstoppable. They
are, when you look at the two of them and on paper who they both are, as far as yin and yang halves, you couldn't really ask for much more.
Yeah.
That they are the perfect sort of halves combination if you had to sort of build it for what you want.
Really hands-on, lead the team around the park, get you everywhere you need to go, and then just an out and out. He's actually got an incredible ball playing too, Brown. But when it comes to running, he's as strong as nearly any outside back in contact. He is quick as anything, Dylan Brown.
Both defended a high click. One plays left, one plays right. You got, I think Dill's short kicking game is tremendous as well, and Mitch's long kicking game is obviously probably the best in the league. They're a perfect little combo.
Even just looking at their results together. So before Moses got injured, they played from round 13 to 18 together. Round 13, that was Moses' first game back from injury. They beat the Sharks 34-22, top 4 side. They lost to the Doggies away from home by 4 points. They lost to the Roosters 28-18. Great result, contextually. Lost to the Knights 34-26, then the game against the Rabbitohs when Moses was injured. Some really good results with those two. Massive shame we didn't see it in the back end of the year.
Yeah. And just quickly, I thought Moretti was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. 18 runs, 164 metres. 52 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 20 tackles, 0 misses, and a line break assist. I thought he was, when we talk about young guys coming through that are exciting at Para, he's one that I can't wait to see under Riles.
Yeah, he's always had the ability, Luca Moretti. I think that when he was at the Roosters, he might have taken his opportunity for granted a little bit. Because I think you see since he's gone to Parramatta, he's really had a red hot crack over there.
Yep. Alrighty, now onto the Dragons. Jeez. Outside of the Broncos, the most disappointing performance of the weekend. I really respect how Flanagan came into that press conference because, as a fan, as a Dragons fan, that's what you want your coach. I mean, I don't expect a coach to come in and apologise every week or whatever, but you want your coach to care and you want him to be filthy at what's just happened and you want him to be honest. And I thought he handled the press conference extremely well in regards to showing the fans how much it means to him and how he's hurting. Because that first half, it's just they had been so good all year, the Dragons. I know super inconsistent, but unfortunately, and Cam Smith, he brought this up years and years ago. He goes, in the big games at the end of the year, you usually play how your year has been. And unfortunately for the Dragons, this was a microcosm of how they've played all season. Diabolical first half, crazy second half. And it's come back to bite them in the arse. However, similar-ish to the Bulldogs sentiment, I hope Dragons fans don't allow this to ruin the whole season for them. This has been an absolutely fantastic season for the Dragons. There's so much to look forward to next year. Yes, it's devastating that you came so close and it was within your grasp to get a top 8 spot. I get it. But so much development has happened in such a short time at the Dragons. There's a lot to look forward to. Don't write the whole season off with one little bad performance.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the vast majority of people, I think all of us on the panel sort of had them as a spoon or sort of thereabouts at the start of the season. For them to even be in contention for finals footy, I think is an incredible knock. We're talking about it all year, but you spent the entire offseason trying to convince your captain not to leave. And then yes, a disappointing performance, but it's what's kept you from finals footy. It's been a crazy season.
Yeah, when we get to our season recap, club by club, it'll just be nothing but praise for the Dragons. I had a wooden spoon at the start of the year, and they've just, blown away my expectations for them. Standalone game, though, far out, it was disappointing. Had finals footy in their grasp, and to dish out that, it was they conceded 9 tries against a team coming second last. And I know they've got attack in Para. They can use the footy, but just a few moments. You could nitpick and take a million different things where you're what is going on, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where this is growing pains. It's one of those situations where this roster under Flano, are still learning what it is to be up every single week and learning how to get up for big games. Because unfortunately, this was it was a disaster. It really was.
20-6 just before half time. Benny Hunt's miss on Sean Lane. What's going on, mate?
Switching off for that 1 second, boom. That 1 second switch off. And Benny Hunt's had almost similar-ish to the Dragons this year. He's been real up and down. Some games he has won it for him and he's been outstanding. And then some games he's got 5 or 6 errors and you're just going, wow. And unfortunately on the weekend, it was like his whole season. The first half, really poor. But the back end where they were scoring those tries, it's friggin' Benny Hunt brilliance. And so it's just about Flano getting this roster to just a bit more consistency.
I scored 28 points in the last 10 minutes.
Mental. And there's some silver linings. Sloan, 2 tries, 19 runs, 253 metres, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, a line break assist, 6 tackles, only 1 miss. Pretty good knock for a guy that's been,
Man, I thought the hooker, he got through 63 tackles.
Oh.
I was out there. I completely missed that Jacob Little wasn't playing in this, and I was giving him all the raps in the world on the sideline before I realised it wasn't him.
This Little's a gun. To be honest, what is there to say?
Yeah.
What is there to say? Just that's their season. That's the Dragons' season, and in a nutshell, super inconsistent. 1 week incredible, next week not just bad, really bad. Some positives. I thought Sewer tried his heart out. Super aggressive at times. Lomax had some good moments to a degree, got through his work again.
Matty Feeney bagging a hat-trick.
Yep. But just that first half, just not good enough. Just the thing is, if they had just got to like, even if it was 16-0 at first half, you could claw it back in. But yeah, so we'll probably recap the Dragons more, guys, in the season review, because that'll give you a better insight. Like, we can go through, but we'd just be repeating ourselves as to what we're going to say in the season review. But devastating. I'm sure Dragons fans are almost kicking themselves for like having hope, like going, we were so close. But at the same time, it's just one of those unfortunate things where if you're not consistent, you can never really bank on a direction for your team. And that's been the Achilles heels for the Dragons all season long. But I fully believe they've made a bunch of progress. Like
I agree.
Holmes, Cook, just those two alone coming to the club. Maybe RCG, like, fuck.
Just like being out there and talking to Dragons fans after, the sentiment was just, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Sucks, man.
Even like RC kicked 4 from 9. They scored their 9 tries within 61 minutes.
Mental. And it's hard to be too positive about any players because the first half was so bad. Well, the first like 50 minutes was so bad. But yeah, we'll do more of a season review, guys, and break it all down. But I did really respect Flanagan's press conference. Did you guys get a chance to see it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Basically just got in, apologised. He said, I want to apologise to the fans, the sponsors. Absolutely wasn't good enough. You know, I need to be better. We need to be better. Took a couple of questions and said, look, guys, I just need to go. Like, I can't. I'm done.
There was a lack of accountability in a few different presses over the weekend. So for Flano to do that, it's like, mate, good on him. He's copped it on the chin. Our boys weren't good enough.
That's what I mean.
Isn't it just like heaps of chaos and Flano just nails it again?
He nails it because as a fan, you know, as I said, you don't have to demand that your head coach comes out every week. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, because then it's just like, fuck, whatever, mate. You're just appeasing the fans. But Flano let the fans know that he's hurting just like they're hurting. And I think as a fan, if you can see that, you can usually go, okay, tough loss, but at least we're hurting together. It's when a coach comes out and kind of doesn't really give you any insight as to what's just happened throughout the season and what's going on, and you go, mate, give me something.
And even like media, like us, as sort of analysis of the game or wannabe analysis, if he came out and made excuses and blamed refs and that, I'm coming in here going, nah, stuff that. Like, they were terrible. Like, you want to repin him. But when he takes accountability for his team, their performance, you're like, he knows it. They know it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. How can you have a crack at him? Because you're like, fuck, he's aware of it.
Yeah.
He's aware of it. So, yeah, really tough day for the Dragons. Really tough day. I do think to cut the Dragons a little bit of slack, the Eels have been way better than their table position suggests. They took Panthers. They've taken the top tier sides to like the 60th, 70th minute.
If they get the wooden spoon, they'll be the best wooden spoon team of all time, won't they?
Nearly. Maybe Broncos 2020. But you could argue like the actual squad with a Mitchell Moses in and everything. You could argue.
I mean, even like performances, like you go. You said they've had some good performances. Yeah. They've pushed a lot of really good teams to the last minute of games. Like statistically, they've won like 6 games. It is what it is, but.
Alrighty, guys, don't forget, all 8 games are live and ad-free during Play On Co. Some key games this week is the Spoon Bowl, Tigers versus Eels, and you got the Doggies versus the Cowboys, Manly versus Sharks, exclusive to Fox League and available on Co. Alrighty, Dolphins defeat the Broncos 40-6. An absolutely incredible performance by the Dolphins, and like an absolute masterclass by Wayne Bennett. You roll into the game. And you go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take one of the better fullbacks in the competition in a big game where everyone else would put him at fullback. He goes, I'm going to look at this Broncos lineup and say, where has all their attack been over the last few weeks? They've been playing poorly, but anything that comes, like that happens good out of the Broncos, it's Stags. Stags is doing it all. I'm going to take Hammer. I'm going to move him on Stags. I'm going to completely shut that down, and Broncos are going to have no way of really creating anything. Then I'm going to bring in Trey Fuller, who I know can get the job done. Have reload a 6 is that's mind blowing to me. Makes all these little changes specifically for the Broncos game. Once again, we witness a Bennett masterclass that, look, maybe he hasn't been, but I'm just going to throw a limb out here. I feel like put myself out on a limb. I feel like he's been building towards this game for 3 weeks now, and maybe that's why we saw the Dolphins a little bit flat for the last week. I don't know whether next week they come out and they're flat after such a big win this week. Whatever. The fact of the matter is, a derby rolled up and Wayne Bennett put on an absolute masterclass. Now Wayne Bennett has the record of the biggest win by a Queensland team over the Brisbane Broncos in the same game that he knocks the Brisbane Broncos out of the top 8. Absolutely incredible by Wayne Bennett and the Dolphins.
Yeah, and, it's obviously a personal one for Wayne going up against the Broncos. Now gets the opportunity this week to go up against the Knights, probably the two clubs that he left on worse terms. And, Wayne's petty like this. He loves this shit.
Oh, he loves it.
Absolutely loves it.
Look, Wayne Bennett is Wayne Bennett. He's one of the GOATs, and all this ethereal fucking wordage around him about how great he is and he almost transcends being a human. He's still a fucking human. He's petty. He can do all that shit, and we saw it on the weekend. And that's what rugby league's all about. That's why we love it. That's why we watch it. We want to see Wayne Bennett against his old club. And the thing is that I've been saying this a lot with the Dolphins. I don't think people realise the setup over there at the Dolphins is it's such a strong setup that they're actually not as far away from a premiership as people think. Now, granted, the Wayne Bennett leaving is a big deal. We'll see how they go with that. But when it comes to clubs, resources, juniors, these guys are not a basket case. They are set up, a well-oiled machine that has been around for a very long time. And right now, they just literally ripped the crown off the Broncos' head in 2024.
Yeah, and I would like to echo that just from being up there and seeing it all. They are in a very good spot. And you look at the young guys they've got coming through, even the guys that have performed really well this year, they're still 4 and 5 years away from their best footy. Dropping Isaiah Cartel to the bench absolutely shocked me. Turned out to be, he pulled the right rein, 100%. But I reckon even he'll be better for this experience too.
Oh, for sure. You could look, Katoa, first 3 quarters of the year was incredible, but you could tell the young fella was fatiguing. He was getting tired, he was getting targeted, and this is a 10-year plan with a guy like Katoa. It's just a masterstroke. It's incredible what Wayne continues to do, what he continues to do. Timmy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Wayne's written a few books in his time. He needs to write a book on just the mental strategy behind just the approach to this game of footy. It was an absolute coaching masterclass, and just, I think even the press conferences, which we'll obviously get to shortly, but they just sum it up exactly, because through the whole game and in the presser, Wayne just sat there with this wry little grin on his face, and Kevy Walters was the complete opposite. It was just experience showcasing, and Wayne at his absolute best. Dropping Isaiah Katoa, I was like, wow, that's a big, big call. And then bring Fuller in, who's a terrific fullback, but to move your fullback of the entire season to centre in your biggest game of the year leading into finals, playing for final spot, to do that. Averillo to the halves, what is going on? And they come out and win 40-6. It's as good as it gets from Wayne Bennett.
And Averillo has the game of his career. Averillo, a bloke that we've been going, mate, his defence is just I don't know what's going on there. Comes out against the Broncos and fucking tortures them at 6. At 6, who sees this stuff? It's amazing. And the Dolphins boys deserve credit too. We're talking about a team that doesn't have Flegler, that doesn't have Gilbert, that Jeremy Marshall-King, first game back in a while. Their front row is Kenny Bromwich and Mark Nichols. Against Jensen and Payne Haas. It is just... I say Kenny Bromwich not in a negative way. I say he's an edge back rower. That's moved into there recently. It's just, mate, it's incredible what they continue to achieve with the Dolphins. And you know what? Out of all the teams, I want to see the Knights in the top 8 because of the Kalen Ponga factor. We'll get to that. But from a broader perspective of rugby league, geez, I'd love to see the Dolphins just squeeze in there. If they get bounced out, they get bounced out or whatever. But it would just be... I think we've gotten a bit desensitised. This is their second year in first grade as a first grade side. We've got teams with incredible teams on paper that are outside the 8. The Dolphins are just grinding away and get in the 8. It'll be incredible.
And how good they play the Knights the last game of the season for a top 8 spot.
It's finals footy.
Yeah.
Finals footy a week early. So
I just talking about Wayne Bennett in the press conference. I don't think it ended up in any media or anything, but when I was in Perth a few weeks ago, Wayne Bennett did an interview with the media that was there. It was about 2 dudes standing there in thongs just talking to him and stuff. And they said, if a team comes to Perth, are you a chance? And Wayne just grinned and he goes, it's going to be tough for me to coach in Port Moresby, South Auckland and Perth at the same time. It was just the way he handles himself is just something else.
Yeah. It's just what a performance. And in regards to like individual performances, we've already spoken about Herbie. So if you're a Dolphins fan, go back to the hungriest player earlier in the show. But for me, Fuller, like so brave. This guy, there was a moment, like this is what typifies. This is why they won the game the way they did, in my opinion. So it's 15 minutes 20 to go in the first half. And Xavier Wilson comes from the back fence running straight at Fuller. Fuller gives it everything he's got, tackles him, somehow stops him before the line. Paddy Carrigan reloads, runs straight at him again, and eventually does fall over the line and scores a try. But once again, Fuller puts his body on the line, on his line. And he may not have won that little battle, but that bravery is what won the war in the game. That ability to go, I'm brave enough to stand in front of your front rower and tackle him one-on-one, because for the rest of the game, he was a nightmare for the Broncos. And, Broncos scored that one little try. He broke like 12 or 13 tackles. He is the epitome of braveness. He's another Wayne Bennett masterclass. And the beauty is now that the Dolphins head into finals footy, like let's say Hammer is having a bit of a quiet game, they can go, you know what, let's go Hammer to centre, let's go. And also, if Hammer can land the balance between roaming centre and, playing centre, like maybe they can afford to put him at centre in the big games the way they did against the Broncos. Because defensively, Staggs, I know he ended up getting injured, but he did an absolute number on Stagg. Stagg had no impact.
Yeah, and it's a valid point. And when you got a guy like Trey in the squad, like Hamiso might be one of the most exciting fullbacks in the comp, but if you can plug a hole at centre and it's just better for the team, so be it. You mentioned before, Kempy, like about how good this Dolphin setup is, and just within this squad, when you see this team together, like just the chemistry between them all. Like you quite often you see at other NRL clubs and teams that that might sort of be like you got the older guys that stick together, the young guys. These guys are like, there's 31-year-olds hanging out with 19-year-olds, and they're just the chemistry in this side and what they've built up there. It is something so special that I think, we've been lucky enough to be up there and see it a little bit. I don't think people realise how special it is up there.
Well, I think people see them as a new club, but the Dolphins have been around for 50, 60 years. They are not a new club. They are a well-oiled machine with a ton of money. And they got one of the best recruiting officers in the competition that's obviously now gone to Newcastle. Like another little thing. So Tavita, he got dropped last week, correct? Pretty sure he got dropped.
He had a hamstring niggle, but like he's been dropped since he's come back.
So he had a hamstring niggle.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, was that Wayne going, give yourself a rest. I need you fucking ready and raring to go against the Brizzy Broncos, because he came out in 36 minutes, 18 runs, 145 metres, 52 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks. Immediately, first tackle tries to get in a fight with Payne Haas. Pretty much first tackle. Like, that was his job, was to try and to get under the skin of Payne Haas. Didn't necessarily work, but it's still like, that's his job. Go out there, a short stint, go crazy, did his job, killed it.
Dolphins 77 years.
70, yes. So like, this is not a new club. This is a well-oiled beast of a machine.
Yeah, just on that, like the prospect of like Hammer being roaming centre and Fuller, like does he hold that place long term? Well, like what does it look like, going forward into finals and into next year? Like you can't waste a player with as good a talent as Hammer at centre, I don't think, unless they can effectively be a roaming centre and you get more out of them just stashing them on an edge and getting the ball when it comes to them. But when he did roam and he set up that try for Avery, like coming back infield through the middle, that's where you go, maybe it can and maybe Hammer can do it. We know he's fit enough. He's got the speed to get across the park.
Well, the problem with Hammer at fullback is that like he doesn't really... He goes weeks where he's not looking for work. And you look at his stats and it might say 180 metres, but that's from a line break. Yeah. It's actually not from hit-ups. And so... in a perfect world, it seems like Hammer's play style is, mate, I'm a Ferrari. Just put me in good position and I'll... And that might be the balance they need, is you put him out at centre, but you give him plays that make him get involved in the game in that way, rather than him having to take 20 hit-ups. You look at Trey Fuller's numbers, 21 runs. Hammer might have that, but he's not week in, week out. He's not usually having it. Whereas on the weekend, he had 14 runs. And I think Hammer is probably happy having 14 runs a game.
I love it with his runaway try where, bless his soul, Tristan Saylor's chasing him. I cannot believe he even bothered chasing after him, but good luck to him. And Hammer, who was like just running along, like half giggling and had the smile on his face. And Sailor starts to catch up to him and sort of has a little bit of a look around the corner and goes, see ya.
So quick.
That's the thing about him. So like he only ever runs as fast as he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I hope the day comes that we see him in a genuine foot race with another superstar speedster.
I think the outside backs for the Dolphins, though, I thought they were the real difference for me. Coming out of their own end, just the hit-ups, the danger that they posed each run. You got Herbie, 287 metres, Jack Bostock, 135 metres, Hammer, 205 metres, Fuller, 202 metres. Like, that is a world away from the Broncos. 90 metres, 82 metres, 58 metres, 136 metres for Jesse Arthurs. Like, genuinely completely outplayed the Broncos. And, Jesse Arthur's grand final, Selwyn Cobbo, one of the best young guns in the game, Staggs, a stalwart, has played Origin. They were outdone. They were outdone by the Dolphins.
I love, too, the way that Wayne, like, if I'm the Broncos going into this game, must win, my season on the line, I look at that team sheet before the game and just go, what the fuck is Wayne doing?
Yeah, what's going on?
But there's got to be some rattle stations in there trying to work out. Just like you always know, this guy's got something up his sleeve.
Yep.
He shakes it up like this massively. You just always knew though he was going to get a response out of them after that.
Yeah. Max Psychoplath got through a bunch of work. He rotated between 9 and 13, if I recall. Like, he mainly played 13, but when it was named, obviously, at 9. But the beautiful thing about when he is 13 is you can just jump in, help out when you need to. How much better, like when Jeremy Marshall King's in that side, geez, they look like a better squad. Psychoplath at 13, he basically ran for 13 runs, 134 metres, 44 post contact, only 1 tackle break and 37 tackles. Geez, I cannot wait to watch this bloke's career. I really can't wait.
Such a unique guy to be as tough as he is, to be the size he is, but to have the mindset of a halfback as well. It's so unique. He's going to do so well in our game.
Yeah, so look, I cannot wait for the Knights versus Dolphins. And as I said, I want to see Ponga in the final series because you just don't know what's going to happen. But I tell you what, from a games perspective, you can get the Dolphins into that top 8. What an incredible feat.
This Sunday's going to be an absolute cracker. Sunday afternoon, Newcastle. It's going to be great.
Alrighty, anything else on the Dolphins, guys?
No.
All good.
Alrighty, onto the Broncos, going down 40-6. Look, unfortunately, it hurts me to say this, but like if you think that this season has just been a matter of Broncos have had quite a few injuries and a bit of hard luck, I just disagree. I think that this performance, out of all the teams that were fighting for the 8 spot, for the Broncos to put up this performance when you've got teams like the Knights putting on an absolute show, you've got the Dolphins putting on an absolute show, for the Broncos to trot this out with the season on the line, I think that there are real problems. I think that everyone's under pressure, and unfortunately, look, if they had just got beaten 24-20, you can kind of go, okay, tough year. They bowed out. Yes, there's things we need to worry about. My concern is, and one key moment stands out for me, is Paddy Carrigan scores that try. He scored a try last year, and granted, I get it. They were going to a grand final. They were up the top of the ladder. But the amount of people that were running in, jumping, celebrating last year, Paddy Carrigan got up, and it was barely even oh, yeah, we scored. No one's running in celebrating. Clearly the environment there isn't the best at the moment. Kevy is a legend of this club. He really is. And, unfortunately, I do think that heading into next year, he is under pressure. And I do think that you're probably going to have to give him the first 10 rounds because this last 4 years, yes, they were in a grand final last year, but overall, it hasn't been successful, period. And I think that the reality is if you're just trying to wipe this away and go, no, just a down year, it's not the truth. Like, we have had multiple down years. This is now out of the last 4 years, we've made finals once. We've come 14th, we've come 9th, and we're probably going to come 11th or 12th this year. So unfortunately, as I said, legend of the club, good bloke, all that stuff, but I do believe there is pressure on Kevy's job heading into next year. I don't believe that he should be, in the off-season anything should happen, but I do believe that the club should be looking at that first 10 rounds and making some tough decisions. It kills me to say it, but I always try to be honest with you guys. That's just how I feel.
It's a really valid point because the grand final is the exception season, realistically, based on the rest of it, which Yeah, something I didn't really think about until you spoke about it today. And mate, I think the point on the Pat Carrigan try, like, that also wasn't 30-6. That was 12-6 at that point. It was 25 minutes in, season on the line. No response.
No response. Like, the season is on the line, boys, and your leader that has given everything to this club just torn himself apart. You've got Haas coming back, basically still definitely injured, and like there's no excitement, there's no buzz, there's no energy.
Just on that, and just a positive for a second. How on earth Haas comes back from a Liz Frank injury in 4 weeks and play like that for 75 minutes?
Insane.
He is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
They're normally like 8 to 10 weeks, Liz Franks, if not more, and he's come back after.
They can be
less than a
career
month.
altering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
it's incredible. Just back to the Broncos, like, my concern is like Benny Eichen comes to the club, issues there, he leaves.
When did he leave?
2022, I think,
Yeah.
maybe the end of 22. So he leaves. Got assistant coaches that are now also leaving as well. So it's like three really key people. So we've got both the current both current assistances. They are gone next year. You've got Benny Eichen that left at the end of 2022. Like, that is not evidence of a stable environment that is doing well. And unfortunately for Kevy, because there has been movement in Benny Eichen and both assistant coaches, it from the outside looking in, it looks like the environment has been created for Kevy to do what he wants to do, because he's the one that's still there and there's been movement. Like, put it this way, the club wouldn't let go of these people if Kevy was like, no, I want to keep them. Look, unless maybe the assistant coaches got way better offers elsewhere and that's why they're leaving, I'm not sure. But the outside looking in, unfortunately, the environment has been created that it is on Kevy now, because he's got the roster that he wants. You know, it is hindsight, but the decision to let Capewell go now proves to be the incorrect one, in my opinion. I don't think both back rowers have gone on and played the way we would hope they would. I thought Ricky was really poor yesterday, unfortunately, and I think the back end of his season hasn't been great. He's shown a lot of improvement, but I don't think he has taken that full step up into Capewell's shoes. I think Brendan Piakora probably a bit early in his career at the moment. Now, I know he's still 23, so he's not that young, maybe 22. But I think that maybe it was a bit early for him to be an out-and-out edge back rower for an entire season. Then you look at your Flegler gone, Herbie gone, Palacia gone. Now, granted, I know Flegler, obviously he's been injured, but all of these things, you know, Kevy's got the roster that he wants. You know, Benny Eichen's gone, both assistant coaches gone. Unfortunately, I do think heading into next year, the first 10 rounds do fall on Kevy's shoulders.
Piakura is 22 and Ben Eichen left May 2023.
Yeah, wow.
Just on like the Tom Flegler, like, especially this game was against the club that gained him and lost him as well after losing Tom Gilbert too. And like, personally, like, if you look at it on paper, I don't even know how that Dolphins forward pack competes with this Broncos forward pack. It's a landslide. when you look
Thoughts
at it
on the
paper.
environment with the Broncos going forward?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, and obviously I'm not up there. I can't see it all, but for the squad they've got and for the way they're performing and the way that they sort of just folded in on themselves there, yeah, issues.
Yeah, well, the environment and culture's obviously been poor for a number of years now, based on what the Broncos have said, the resources they've got and the success they've had over the years. And you went, all right, grand final last year, super close to a premiership, but to back it up the way they have, well, it shows that, as you boys have already alluded to, it was an anomaly, wasn't it? It was the one-off year and the outlier. They're back to where they were, like barring a win over Melbourne this week, which seems unlikely. They're finishing 12th this season, which is really, really poor. So obviously some cultural off-field issues there. And like, they had the opportunity with a big game against the Dolphins in Melbourne next week to go, oh, it's been a poor season, but we can still make finals. If they came out and said, Haas back, if we win those and play finals, you get away with a pass mark. And, you know, you've said the stats around teams not backing up their season after a grand final appearance, but you could have got away with it. And as you said, Kempy, it wasn't even like a tight loss, but to lose 40-6, it's just confirmed all the things we've said all year. Like, they're a complacent side. They're resting on a grand final appearance last year. It's like that was good enough, and there's serious issues.
Yeah, and I think that, like, this playing group and the coaching staff, like, I want this more than anything for them to turn it around. But you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't say there's more going on than just a down year, because it's not just a down year. with 4 years, we've only made finals once. That's down 3 years. So I want nothing more than Kevy to come out next year and absolutely blow everyone off the park, and the Broncos are back where we always want them to be. I just think as a club, they need to make defence their identity. I think that this year they fell too much in love with being the superstars that make the highlight reels, and I think that there wasn't enough focus in on, well, actually the reality of why you got to a grand final is because you had the second best defence in the competition. I think the whole off-season needs to be focused in on, I understand this idea of attack. It's exciting, it's good, but it is very hard. There is no evidence to suggest you can build a long-term foundation on attack. On just going, it's all right, we made four errors, but you know what? It's the Broncos' way. We're just going to attack at our own end again. It doesn't work. It doesn't work long-term. And I think in the off-season, the whole focus needs to be, we need to be the best defensive side in the competition. At the very least, one of the best defensive sides in the competition. That's where I think we've really let ourselves down this year, is not enough focus on defence.
Yeah, it's a change in the DNA, because you look back at the Broncos in the 90s and stuff, you probably could get away with that.
Different game now.
Different game.
Wayne Bennett wasn't that. Wayne Bennett wasn't you can just attack out of nowhere. He wanted you to defend your ass off. Wayne Bennett's sides have always been quite conservative. They've never been, flary and all that kind of stuff. So
what do you do, if it doesn't sort of turn around next year, who do you go to after Kevy?
I don't know. It's one of those things I don't want to talk about, because he's not. I don't think he should be on the outer this year at all. I think that'd be ridiculous. But I think that it is a reasonable thing to say 10 weeks to show that, this is the right setup going forward. I don't want to start until we get to that bridge. I don't want to start talking about it, because I do feel that's a little bit rude to Kevy, but it doesn't change the fact that I do think heading into next year that, he is under pressure. And I think that anyone, obviously respectfully disagree with anyone that doesn't agree with that, but I think that, come on, you've got to be a bit fair dinkum if you think this Broncos squad, that it's okay that we've gone 1 from 4 final series in the last 4 years. That's not... Broncos minimum used to be a top 4 finish. That was and I'm not suggesting that they've got the same roster as they did early 2000s, not at all. But at the same time, I don't think anyone should be accepting 1 finals appearance in 4 years. My opinion.
The difference is that there never used to be any issues producing talent and retaining talent. Nowadays, I said, they're struggling to retain players as much as anything. So that shows a cultural shift that people used to take, smaller pay cuts to go to the Broncos and be at that powerhouse club. Now it's we'll go to the Dolphins, we'll go to the Titans, wherever it might be. They don't care.
Yeah, it's different. So, as I said, I want nothing more than this playing roster to turn around and Kevy to lead them to a premiership. I would absolutely love that. But I have to be honest, they've got to fall back in love with the tough stuff. They've got to fall back in love with the defence. Don't even think about yourselves as an attacking highlight reel team, because that's all natural. You've got that. It's in the bank. What isn't in the bank is the hard yards, and I think that should be the focus in the off-season. All about defence. If this team can sort their defence out, they're almost nearly unbeatable. Obviously, it can be beaten. But this team with good defence, almost guaranteeing a top 8 spot. Because you've got guys like Reece Walsh. You've got guys like Paddy Carrigan, Selwyn Cobbo, Staggs.
Have you signed anyone for next year?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's all just been about retention, because
you don't need to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but extremely, there's no other way to put it. It's one thing losing a game against a Dolphins side in a year that's been really unlucky. We're missing Mann, we're missing Walsh. It's another thing losing like that. That's what we put up with, everything on the line, with all our loyal fans watching. I just don't think that's good enough, in my opinion. I thought Reynolds was pretty poor as well, unfortunately, this game. I really thought there was moments where I think he should have really stamped his authority on the game, just even coming out of our own end, just making the boys get in there, take scoots and get a bit of ball playing going on. Just an extremely, extremely disappointing night. But as I said, I want nothing more than these boys to turn it around, because they're a good bunch of boys. And Kevy is a legend of the club. But the reality is, everyone's under pressure now. Sharks versus the Warriors. The Warriors beat the Sharkies 30-28, and what a crazy game. Looked like it was done and dusted. The Sharkies looked clinical. It looked like, almost a masterstroke, this Hines-Trindle combination. Granted, I know Hines was named at 6. I didn't really see them play that much different than they usually do. if I had to be picky, maybe Hines does sit out on that right edge a little bit more than he used to a degree, but that could be just because he's coming back. But yeah, it looked like a clinical win. Trindle with some beautiful try assists, and then obviously Hines coming into his own as well. And then all of a sudden, you know, just some momentum change, and the Warriors got their tails up and they just could not be stopped. I have to be honest, just like last week with the terrible call against the Warriors, you know, first of all, let me be clear. This is not saying that this is why the Warriors won. This is not to put blame on the Warriors, anything like that. But I have to be honest. Just because the Warriors got a tough call last week doesn't mean that the Sharks should get a ridiculous call this week. The Ito 10 in the bin was some of the most bizarre reffing I've ever seen, because it actually wasn't, if I recall correctly what the ref's saying, it actually wasn't about the fact that it was high. It was the fact that it was a repeat offence. Did you guys hear the same thing?
Yep.
And so what I'm not understanding is repeat offences were basically put in place because it was almost intentional / professional. How the hell is trying to make a try saver while someone is slipping over an intentional penalty where it deserves a guy to go 10 in the bin? As I said, this is not the reason why the Warriors won. The Warriors won because the Sharks let go a 22-4 margin. That's why. However, that's outrageous. An outrageous call where Ito is getting sent 10 in the bin, not for the head high where the guy was slipping, for a repeat infringement. What is it? He's doing a try-saving tackle. How is anything intent there when it comes to being a professional foul? Makes no sense to me.
And you try and add context to try and make it make sense after, but the more you think about it, the less it makes sense.
Like, yeah, the getting sent 10 in the bin for repeat offences was because it was essentially a professional foul. That's why you would do it. How is that a professional? Yep. He's making a try-saving tackle. Absolutely bizarre. Anyway, so I've got to be fair with that. However, that's not why the Sharkies lost. The Sharkies lost because they got complacent. They were ahead by a lot, and they allowed that. But they were robbed of a fair opportunity because I thought that was an outrageous call. But the Warriors, their ability, once they got that tail up and that roll on, an incredible finish by the Warriors. And what a moment. Sean Johnson, I tell you what, against his old club, when he left the club, it looked like career done to a degree. Like almost, you know, okay, SJ's on his last legs. Goes back there in the final moment, throws the cutout ball to win the game. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I would imagine even as a Sharkies fan out of that game, they'd have to be like, awful you lost, sucks, could cost you, you know, a home final or whatever. But fuck, just to be there for that moment of SJ, I think that's his last touch in the NRL. To set up a match-winning try like that, it's like you're out there. That must have been sensational.
It was incredible. It was such a special night. We were sort of mentioned at the top of the show, but it was on the hill, 20 metres away from where he threw that pass. We'll always have that as SJ's last touch. Well, technically his last touch was the missed kick from the sideline. But in the Sharkies, it was weird. Like, for what could have been a really detrimental loss for the Sharks and potentially pushed them out of a top 4 position, results went their way, so it hasn't resulted that way. But the whole night was just so special, and there wasn't any like, oh, SJ used to play for us, and any bitter feelings about the exit and all that. Everyone was just seemed so happy for Sean Johnson. Of course, there was upset Sharks fans about the result, but there was this underlying, we just witnessed one of the greats of rugby league go out on those terms. So it was a special night.
You know what I love too about like all of his plays in this game? Like, to me, the first try he set up for Luke Metcalf, that was almost like old SJ. And then the tries at the back end, they were, you know, the more recent SJ. Like that kick that he put in early, like at 20, he couldn't have done that. He couldn't have even considered that. He could do everything else on the planet except that. And you just got to see the whole range of it from SJ, which I just thought was tremendous.
Yeah, and I think like SJ has become so loved at the back end of his career. You've got to remember, like, it wasn't always that way for SJ. It was the typical young superstar. Everyone loves him. Okay, now everyone hates him. I mean, to be honest, a bit like the situation Nico's going through right now. First couple of years where he's the leader at the Sharks, everyone loves him. And because everyone loves him, now all of a sudden he's the cool guy to hate. It's like when Nico has done nothing wrong. Like literally, like you couldn't ask for a better bloke in Nico, and yet he's the easy target. And it's similar to SJ. SJ had never done anything wrong, never put a foot wrong. But there was a period of his career where it was just easy to hate on SJ. Like he remember on the podcast, he was talking about when he won the Golden Boot and how much hate he got because he won the Golden Boot. And so what what a perfect way to finish his career. Just a reminder of how much this guy's given us, how many young Kiwis and young Aussies and young whoever watched SJ coming through and said, you know what, I love this game because of that bloke. Just a beautiful ending. And there was questions for a period there, SJ, can he ice games? And initially he could, and he was the star, and then he went through a bit of a rough patch where he struggled to ice games, and you're almost a bit nervous for him. It's like, nah, surely he's not going to be able to do this in the final moments of his games. And that final moment was an encapsulation of how mature he is mentally now and strong he is mentally to not allow it to rattle him and just go bang, just in the breadbasket try time.
I'll tell you what too, Loden, there's a million on-field highlights we can talk about with SJ, mate. I always go back to during COVID when the game got put into lockdown and they interviewed him straight after that game. And he didn't know he was going into lockdown yet, and they told him live, you have to leave your family, you have to go to this. And do you remember how well he handled that moment? That was his world falling in that split second. And I just thought it was just such a mature response to it, and to look at his career from where he started to where he finished and what he's done and the person he is throughout the whole thing. It's been, and I'll be the first one to say, the year he won the Dally M, I didn't think he'd make it through first grade that year. I genuinely didn't. At the start of the season, I was like, I think it's done.
He nearly won the Dally M.
Nearly won the Dally M, sorry, yeah. But I personally didn't have him finish the season in first grade at the start. And it sounds crazy now, but that's the sort of spot he was in. The resurgence was unbelievable.
Yeah. It is one of the, don't get me wrong, I'm stoked that Ponga won it, but it is one of the tough to swallow, knowing that I really did feel like SJ was the best player for the whole season. But I was with you, mate. SJ, for me, I was talking in the trial. I remember his first trial back, and he kicked the ball out in the full, and his kicking game was all over the place. And I'm going, geez, has SJ gone a year too long?
He didn't even look confident in himself at that time.
And then he just went bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
In his last game, this is his last outing, 3 try assists, 25 runs, 176 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, a line break assists, 9 tackles, no errors, 503 kicking metres.
I loved his best mates, who's one of the social media guys there, Logan Dodds, I believe it is. He posted just a screenshot of a text message to SJ before the game. Just give us one more SJ moment. Fucking unreal.
So good. I thought Adam Fenner-Blake was outstanding, and geez, if you're a Sharkies fan, this Sharkies side with Adam Fenner-Blake in it, I'm excited. I'm very excited, especially with this forward pack. I know they died off in the last 20 minutes, but this forward pack is starting to realise, find their... heading into this year, a lot of their forwards hadn't even played 100 NRL games. They're now getting into that period of their career where they've played 120 games. They're getting confident in their ability. Then you add in Adam Fenner-Blake onto this. Just exciting. Yeah, I thought he was outstanding. He had 22 runs, 211 metres, 111 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, 25 tackles, 3 offloads.
The best sign for Sharkies fans was mid-year when he'd signed, and there's rumours, I was going to say reports, let's say rumours of him, maybe an early exit. He's going to leave before the June 30 deadline and go to the Sharkies. How's this all going to play out? And you just thought, with the Warriors season done, a fair way out from the season, not being able to make finals football, how's AFB going to respond? Is he going to have the same attitude, the same effort every single week from there on out? He went out there as if it was like his last game, and he ran for his 200 metres and he played big minutes. He never at any point was like, I've got nothing left to achieve here, we're done for the season.
Yep.
It's a credit to AFB and very exciting for the Sharks.
Totally agree, mate, because also you'd have to suggest that the reason why he's leaving is because he's got personal reasons, so he would probably want to leave immediately. And the fact that he spent the whole year there and done his best to give his best, that's a testament to AFB. It's very hard to stay focused each week when you've got personal stuff going back home that you can't sort out. Another guy, just quickly before we move to the Sharks, Lauatia, when the game was on the line, didn't he just take another step up? Holy shit. He had 14 runs, 172 metres, 59 post-contact. He had 10 tackle breaks and a line break, 10 tackles, 0 misses. I cannot wait to see this guy in first grade for a long period of time.
He is so talented.
The game was on the line and he said, give me the ball.
Without Leotawa, that SJ doesn't have his moment. That line break gave him the opportunity.
Yeah. Jeez, 10 tackle breaks in centre as a rookie?
But he's also and we've seen it, not just this game, but over the last few weeks, he can just beat you in so many ways.
Soft hands, everything.
He ticks a lot of boxes.
I cannot wait. I don't want to get too excited because we've always seen young, exciting Warriors outside backs come through. But far out. It's hard not to get excited with this player.
Remember, he was the one that were in Canberra last year, and he did his hammy 10 minutes into his debut. Remember we spoke to his family after the game, and they were just devastated. He's got such a big career ahead of him.
Yeah, so awesome stuff from the Warriors. Let's get into the Sharkies, shall we? Strangely enough, I know it's disappointing. I'm actually confident that the Sharkies can go win a finals game. I think they can.
The one stat, Kempy, the Warriors completed at 95%. They went 41 from 43 in SJ's farewell.
Crazy. And I just think that like the fact that they put them to the sword for like 60 minutes and it was such a dominant win, I don't know. I'm liking the Sharkies. I know it sounds stupid. I don't think they get enough appreciation for what they've managed to achieve over the last few years. I think they look like a much better side at this period of the year than last year. Last year, they slid off a cliff. Then they were almost hanging on to dear life. And I think it was that left edge they were trying to sort out. We're not heading into, I know they lost, but we're not walking into this final series going, their left edge is a disaster. We're really looking at them going, the biggest question is they've got 3 halves and all of them playing some good footy. Look, I really like what I'm seeing. The only question is the Trindle-Hines combination. Can it click? Looked pretty good on the weekend. I got to eat my words. Like I thought that you'd probably go Anderson-Hines. If they can play like this each week, maybe it is the right way to go. Maybe Trindle is a 7 and Hines can be a 6. I'm not fully on board with it, but you know, Trindle was pretty bloody good on the weekend, and so was Hines, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so tough. We didn't learn anything new. We know they're both bloody good footballers. It's just a matter of getting it all sorted before they. I personally think for this game in particular, mate, I reckon if this is round 22, the Sharkies win this game. I just think the emotion of SJ and everything got the Warriors over the line late.
And you know, wasn't the reason why they won, and a tough call in a key period of the game obviously didn't help their cause.
There was a bit in it, yeah.
The other boys, no Ramian, no Mulitalo, no Sifa Talakai, 3 key blokes in this side that they're all strong. Well, Ramian's come back from suspension. They're 3 blokes who could all come back into the side this week.
So yeah, I actually really like what I'm seeing at the Sharkies. I think that they can win a finals game. I really do. I think they look much better than they did last year. I think this Shark side plays the last year's Shark side at this period of time. I reckon this Shark side would beat them 13+. I really do.
They are looking like they'll play Melbourne probably week 1 of finals, barring upsets this weekend.
They've beaten Melbourne.
They beat Melbourne in Melbourne without Nico and Trindle.
Yep.
Who knows?
And also, all those boys we just mentioned, like their form has been getting better and better as the year has gone on. So I know, as I said, disappointing, but I tell you, I like what I'm seeing at the Sharkies. I really do. You add Adam Fanua-Blake into this side. Who knows what's going to happen with Atkinson? Like, you know, does he play centre or whatever? There was one period where I think it was like a kick chase or something. It was an effort play, and you're like, that's why he's in this side, Atkinson. Yeah. He just makes things happen. So I don't know how you fit him in the side.
Do you find a spot on the bench? Because we know Craig Fitzgibbons, he always has liked that 4-4 bench rotation. I don't know if they need it because they've got a lot of forwards who can play big minutes. You can run with 3 of them. Do you reckon they'll find a spot for him on the bench this week or not?
I think so, and I think Jack Williams will make way because unfortunately he had a Barry. Jack Williams.
I'd be finding a spot for him.
But Jack Williams, mate, that drop ball lost them.
You watch your mouth,
mate. Crucial. That last drop ball was.
It was sacrilege. A shocker. We've all dropped balls in the past, mate. Bloody hell. You dropped the ball bloody higher than Guru. But here we are.
Unfortunately, he had a really good game a couple of weeks ago, but he's had a couple of not great games, and I think probably Jack Williams is where they make way for Atkinson on that.
And you know what was disappointing? Like, we've spoken before. I've been critical of Jack previously. I feel like he'd started to get that out of his game. I feel like he'd improved out of sight this year. So it was a little bit disappointing.
That was a shocker, that drop, yeah.
But yeah, so in regards to performances, I really think they're all like Nikora has had such a good back end of the season. Teague Wilton's been better.
Brayley over the last month.
Oh, mate. Brayley over the last month has been phenomenal. And so what I like about the Sharks is you're seeing Fitzgibbons' plan come to fruition of this, like each year develop, get better. And do we all agree that this Shark side is the best version of Fitzgibbons since taking over, or do you feel there's another year they've been better?
I'm sort of a foot in it, just because I'm not convinced on the halves yet, but I can see where you're coming from, for sure.
I like them. I really do. I think there's just very few cracks in their game. Are they good enough to go all the way to a premiership or even make a grand final? I don't know yet, but I look at that team and I see very few cracks.
I think they could make a prelim.
Absolutely they could.
Win a comp, I think that definitely wouldn't put a line through them, but they wouldn't be. I'm not here to say that like they're not in the top tier with your Melbournes at the moment. However, I think that they can definitely get to a prelim this year, and once they get that finals win off their back, the confidence they might have is just
They just need to get that one.
Yeah, just that
monkey
one
off
win.
the back and
then they're good to go. So, like even a guy like Rudolph, I think has improved dramatically over the last few weeks.
ever since AFB signed, he's been great.
Yeah, so Trindle, some of that just getting to that line and holding the ball up and just hitting that short line. It doesn't get utilised enough, in my opinion, in footy these days. And just holding it to the very, very last second. And like I think a lot of people think, I don't know about you boys, but they think I don't rate Trindle. I rate Trindle a lot. Like I've always been a fan of Trindle. It's just the combination in which that I don't know where everyone lands. Now, like it's weird to say Hines is not a 7 when he won a Dally M from 7. However, look, if Hines at 6 is how you get the best out of their combination and how you get the best out of their team, I've got nothing against it. Boom, put him there. But I just don't know. Like what I am kind of sure of is I don't know if Trindle's a 6. I think he needs to be the man, similar to Sam Walker, that has grown up being a number 7, the main guy, and once you put him in 6, it almost just throws him off a little bit. I think that Trindle is an out-and-out 7.
I mean, if you listen to this every week and you think we don't rate Trindle, you're not listening.
Yeah, we rate him highly. Trust me. It's just the fact that Atkinson is Hines and all that. Alrighty, into the next one. Knights defeat the Titans 36-14. Spoke about it earlier, but it was about a month ago. I just said KP needs to get his hand on the ball way more, way more. And then what does he do? He comes out and he has taken one off the ruck. He's taken scoots. He is in everything. And all of a sudden you're going, this is the Knights side that we saw go on that crazy run. And I know they went a bit quiet for about a 10-minute period in the second half that allowed the Titans back into it, but then they finished him off. Look, if Cogger and Crossland are the long-term halves and they're just going, you know what, we're going to get 2 really stable halves that are just going to lay a platform and KP's the man, then I'm okay with that. Just stick with it. That's all I'm asking. Just stick with it because at the moment, KP was unbelievable, like genuinely unstoppable on the weekend. And this this version of the Knights, you don't want to play him in finals footy because KP is doing stuff like this.
Yeah, and the whole game plan should revolve around get KP good ball. I feel like that hasn't been enough this season.
I honestly, my opinion is I think it's KP that hasn't put himself forward enough. Granted, maybe that's because he had 10 weeks off or whatever and he's been easing back into the game. And I think there was a quote him saying like he's getting more comfortable as each game goes on. But on the weekend, he took it upon himself. He didn't wait for anyone to hit like Phoenix or Cogger. He just said, I'm getting the ball no matter what.
Sorry, you go, mate.
I sort of felt like on the weekend, because Frizzell and Kai Pearce-Paul were out, sort of changed things up a little bit. I think it made them lean on KP a little bit more than what they usually do. Like, they usually just go to that front man constantly, and he's not getting as much ball. I sort of felt like that played into it a little bit.
They've got a really appetising brand of footy, the Knights, for finals. They're playing very high percentage brand of footy. They're pretty conservative, and the game plan at the moment is basically just they're not reinventing the wheel in attack at all, like we probably did see them at times do last year on the big run, but it's just get early ball to your strike centres in Gagai and Bradman Best, who can just create something out of nothing. Pretty simple shapes in the back line, and then you've got a game breaker in Kalen Ponga, who is so magical when he's in touch, which is most of the time. That's where your points are coming from. So it's like they completed 87% in this game. We touched on it last week, but they've become such a right edge dominant team despite having Margil and Best on the left. They can score from anywhere. They're not playing risky football. They're scoring points. I like what they're doing.
Gago on the weekend. We couldn't get him into team of the week because there was other guys just had huge ceilings, but some of the touches he had, how on earth he got through that gap? He came off his right foot and dropped it on his left. He's a freak.
Absolute freak. Just quickly on Ponga. So I think 2 weeks ago he had about, 10 or 12 runs. And then last week he had 15 runs. And then this week he had 24 runs, which just shows you just so much more involved. And that's him just running the ball, actually getting into contact. Then you also look at his tackle breaks compared to, that's last week. I think he had 10 tackle breaks on the weekend, which just shows, He's getting into contact. He's getting involved. Like I think there was one point where he was taking like scoots out of his own end, which is like not ideal, but at the same time, as long as he can just get his hands on the ball, that's the difference between them playing finals footy and not. And I actually think they might have the team to beat the Dolphins because KP is in red hot form. And we'll get to our tips later in the week, but put it this way, it's a 50-50 coin slot. Like this night side, like they absolutely pulverised the Titans. Like the Titans were almost never in it, and then there was a little glimmer of life, and then the Knights just went, nah, see you later. So on the weekend, 2 tries, 24 runs, 280 metres, 39 post-contact, 10 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. And an incredible game by KP. Outside of that, I'm interested to see Fletcher Sharp's development in his career. Like I know he's totally opposite to Dom Young; they're not even close to each other. But if you're looking for a finisher on the wing that can just find points, like even little things like that one try where it was bobbling everywhere and he had to reach over himself and put it down, like that's a skill set. Like finishing tries is a skill set, and there are plenty of people that have been outside the back of good backlines that don't score a lot of tries. And I think a guy like Sharp, outside KP, and also Gagai, but Best. But outside KP, they can just give him an extra metre, could be exactly what the Knights need heading into finals footy.
I'll tell you what, just from watching Fletcher Sharp play his juniors and everything, like I only ever saw him play fullback, and it looked like Pappy just all over again the entire time. To me, still seeing him on the wing, it almost looks uncomfortable, but he's just making a fist of it.
And he's just like deceptively strong in contact.
Yeah.
His tackle breaks, his half line breaks. Just back to KP though, there was one play where the try that he scored, I think in the first half, one of them. Did he score 1 or 2 tries? Two tries. He had the line break to start it all off, and then the line break to finish it all. Like literally from in his own half all the way to the try was all him. Like it's just crazy to see. But yeah, Sharp. He obviously had 3 tries, 15 runs, 138 metres, 45 post-contact, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and 2 offloads. When he fills out, like I think he can be a winger.
Yeah, I think he can be too.
Absolutely.
Once again, Fletcher Sharp, he's flavour of the month right now. 10 tries, 10 games. Dom Young got top try scorer there last year. Gagai.
Yeah. Thank you, guy. So this is their centre. This is why I'm so excited for them heading to finals footy. This is their outside backs. Marju, 245 metres, 104 post contact. Bradman Best, 218 metres, 65 post contact. Dane Gagai, 190 metres, 70 post contact. Fletcher Sharp, 138 metres, 45 post contact. And then Kalen Ponga, 218 metres. Like that's Penrith at their best areas, those kind of numbers.
Sharp moved to wing 5 weeks ago outside Gagai on that right edge. He scored 8 tries in those 5 weeks.
Now, to tell the other thing, like you mentioned, it's somewhat of a Penrith brand of footy, Kempy. Obvious differences, but with the high percentage and like they're not chancing them too much. I have touched on this, but I think where it differentiates and they can get away with it without being too predictable and boring. Just watch them. I really think the interchanging of passing between their forwards is nearly the best in the competition. It's largely off the back of Adam Elliott, but we saw Elliott put Leo Thompson through for a try late in the game. We saw earlier in the game Thompson put Adam Elliott through for a try that was called back rightly due to a forward pass. But if nothing else, they don't have to be making line breaks. That they're isolating defenders, they're getting quick play the balls, and they're also off the back of this, the interchange of passing between forwards. They're getting their arm free and they're offloading. The edge back rollers are running great lines. Like we saw both Brodie Jones and Dylan Lucas get try assists from offloads. The passing between them, it's exceptional.
Yeah, and also their ability to identify, we'll get into it pretty much now, their ability to identify finally, all right, Jaden Campbell's a spot and just go at him. Just go at him constantly. And so anything else to say about the Knights quickly, boys?
No.
Another just quick thing in the Knights' defence, like they were without KP for 10 weeks? That's a good whack. So although it hasn't been the best year, it even might, like I find myself, sometimes I feel like I might have been a little bit too critical on the Knights. Like if they finish in the eight, and they had KP gone for 10 weeks, like I think that's a satisfactory year. I really do. If they finish in the 8. Like
you add in granted, this was a coaching decision, but chopped and changed their halves all year. They had Armstrong and then they had Sharp at fullbacks. They had different fullbacks coming in.
Yep.
They've changed their hooking combinations. Again, largely coaching decisions, but there's been disruption.
How long ago does Armstrong feel? Because he came in, it was like a revelation.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, just the last guy I'd like you to shout out to, I thought it was really good on the weekend. He doesn't get too many opportunities, but Brodie Jones,
He was outstanding.
he was great.
Oh, he was excellent.
Lucas as well.
Dylan Lucas
Oh.
is a gun.
Oh, my God.
Kai Pearce-Paul needs to come back off the bench and be an impact player because, like, Tyson Frizzell comes back from a head knock, he'll start on one edge. Dylan Lucas has to start. He's awesome.
Yeah, at the moment, you can't drop a bloke that 18 runs, 179 metres, 89 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 42 tackles, 0 misses, 3 offloads. Fucking mental. So really, really good performance from the Knights. Now, on to the Titans. We'll be quick here, but just one thing that really stood out for me is that, you know, all of our fears came to fruition, I guess, for the Titans in regards to Campbell at 6. A team went, you know what? You've had a pretty good year. Let's really test this defence, and unfortunately, it was a disaster. You know, like the reason why we were hesitant to go all in on the Campbell to 6, and we were like, look, it looks like it might work. It looks like his defence is really good. There's a big difference between being good in defence for 6 weeks and being good in defence for a whole season. And I thought just on the weekend, as I said, our worst fears came to fruition where he just got targeted, and some of the defensive decisions and contact were just really, really poor. And so, unfortunately for Titans fan, a season where you felt like one of your biggest headaches got sorted. Like, yes, granted, he's going to have a whole preseason training at 6, but that's just the last thing you want to see in such a key position.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, the season as a whole, what I expected to get from him defensively has been a lot better, but like it reared its ugly head the other day.
So bad. Like, and I'm not having a knock, like a dig at Campbell, because like I know he's such a smaller player. He does everything he can, but it's just like, what can you do when you're that small and you've got big boys running at you?
Yeah.
Nothing. And that's the thing, like, he has, for his size, he's held his own defensively in that line, but the more time he spends there, like, teams are going to be able to exploit that and go at him and get those one-on-ones. And look, maybe he can make a fist of 5'8". I'm definitely not saying he can't, because he's been really good there in the back end of this season. But when they do get to a finals game, and if he's there and a team has a bit of success through him, it can knock you out of a competition. Like, you can't have them.
Yeah, so just think that hopefully it can be sorted. Look, I've had a long time to think about, you know, disaster year at the Titans. Unfortunately, like I thought about it more. I still think it. I do still think it. I just think with Desi's history, he has proven track record of taking teams from the bottom of the table at least into, you know, top 8. Now, look, if they have finished like 9th, 10th, 11th, I could kind of cop that, but it's the way they've been losing over the past month. Like, they got absolutely towed up on the weekend. Like, can you get their results over the last few weeks? Like, it's been an absolute toweling each week. And now that's not to suggest that we're not looking at a Serraldo situation where he's putting in some really tough standards for next year. But unfortunately, if we're just judging this year, it's been a disaster for me.
So since their great win against the Bronx, they went down 44-0 to the Sharks, 32-16 to the Dragons, 48-22 to the Roosters, and 36-14 to the Knights.
Yeah, so just towed, pretty much. Yeah, unfortunately, it just hasn't been. I know there have been injuries and key players. I get that. I just feel like that they haven't made much progress at all with the evidence that I've got right now. We may see the evidence next year, and I might be going, you know what? It's exactly like the Serraldo situation where we needed to wait an extra year. But at the moment, I think they'd be pretty disappointed. I think Desi would be really disappointed with where they've ended up on the ladder. Just like, you know, we just spoke about the Broncos and how disastrous season it's been for them. Not as bad as the Broncos, not at all. I think the Broncos, out of every team, has had the most disastrous season. What are your thoughts? And who's had the most disastrous season in regards to like where they should be?
I think the Warriors have to be up there as well, based on where they went last year. I think it has to be the Broncos, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't have the Titans in that slot anyway, personally.
Timmy? Who's had the most like shocking year?
Broncos.
Okay. Second?
I don't know, on the spot, like, I want to say the Rabbitohs, but they've had a shitload of injuries, so I don't know. I'll think about it for the season recap.
Circle back. Alrighty, on to the next game, Roosters v Raiders. Bro, the Raiders, absolutely incredible. They are not going to make the 8 because their for and against is just not even close. For them to take Panthers and Roosters in their last 2 games is absolutely incredible. And to do it without Fogarty is even more incredible. What a win. And what's crazy is the Raiders didn't even play that well yesterday. They just... I thought Ricky's game plan, at the very least it looked like to me, is just slow the ruck down because they're such a big team. They're just going to roll through you. I thought it was a masterstroke. And just be willing to go, you know what? We'll give a penalty away. We'll give a 6 again away. We'll just defend our asses off to the death. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah, I obviously tipped the Raiders in this one, and I felt really confident about it all week. When I saw Fogarty was ruled out, I went, fuck, this is going to go up in flames here. And you know what? They played like a team without a halfback.
They just defended their absolute rings off.
Mate, I might sound like an asshole, but even the year you made the grand final, I thought there was games there. I thought they didn't play that good, but they just find a way to it gets into the game. Like when back in 2019, I got to the end of the game and go, Jack White kicked 3 times out on the full. How the fuck did you win this game of football? But they just hang in and mate, I thought Ricky Stewart's presser, he must have said 6 times, we don't have the talent. If this game was won on talent, we do not compete in this game of football. But my guys are full of grit and they just hang in there. And, I always say when we're at that thing at the start of the year and just all the guys there talking about how we just want tough country guys that are going to buy in and just hang in. That's exactly what this game was.
Yeah, the more I try to make sense of the Raiders, the further away I get from understanding them. Like, we had 40 put on us 2 weeks in a row against the Cowboys and Seagulls, and then we beat Penrith and the Roosters. Like, we beat Penrith and the Roosters, we're going to miss the 8. Like, how does that happen?
It's insane. And for people with the Roosters chat, we spoke a lot about the Roosters earlier in the show. So if you want your Roosters chat, it will be there. We may speak about it a little bit here, but spoke about it earlier. Here's some stats for you.
Honestly, these could be anything. Nothing will shock me.
The penalty count was 18-6. 18 penalties by the Raiders to the 6 by the Roosters. 18-6, 3 blokes on report, and 2 sin bins. Like, we're talking... Then you go, here's some more stats for you. 60% possession to the Roosters. They had more runs, 700 more run meters, 200 more post contact, 6 line breaks to 2, 57 tackle breaks to 30. Average set distance was 3 meters more. They had 261 kick return meters to 95. And this is the stat that I think Ricky planned it to a T. The average play the ball speed of the Roosters was 353 seconds, and the Raiders was 341. And that's the area where I reckon Ricky has gone, you know what? When the Roosters are on, it's because their play the ball speeds are so fast that you can't get back on side. And he's just gone, we are doing everything we can to slow the ruck down. And they did exactly that, and they won.
I'll give you one more stat. Tackled in opposition 20. Raiders 14. Roosters 55.
Wow.
And mate, of those 55, I reckon 35 of them were when they had 12 players. They would camp down there and they just couldn't produce anything.
And didn't really look like it. Like, defended it quite comfortably.
Like it's 14 to 12. Like, the Roosters scored a try on the last play. It had 14 offloads and a kick.
It's crazy. In regards to the sin bin, look, the cheese one happened so quickly. Like, I'm not convinced that it was a textbook hip drop. However, look, it was so dramatic. It's a season-end injury. It happened. I'm kind of just like, okay, I'm 10 in the bin. I can cop that. Like, it's such a serious thing. It happened. The other one, and I'm not willing to die on this hill because it was so dumb, but like the little kick to the ball, it's like 10 in the bin for that. Like, there's no kicking of the ball epidemic that we're worrying about. We're not trying to like rub it out of the game. You know what I mean? Though, like it's one of those situations where they'll try to lean back on player safety. Like, he was kicking the ball. Imagine if he had kicked this. This is not a common occurrence. It's not something that needs to be rubbed out of the game. Elliot Whitehead doesn't go around kicking the ball out all the time. It's just a dumb little play that it's like, as I said, look, 10 in the bin, okay. I personally thought that's a massive overreaction for something that's just worth a penalty. Dumb decision by Elliott Whitehead. I thought that was a bit much, the 10 in the bin for the little kick towards the ball.
It was a little bit different, obviously. Probably not as bad, but it reminded me, remember that night of Vunivalu just tried to jump over people? You're just like, what the fuck happened there? Like, yeah, bizarre. Yeah.
Like, we've got blokes that have slid in with their feet to stop tries not going 10 in the bin. And then he does a little kick and it's like, yeah, it's dumb. But like 10 in the bin.
Didn't even get him the hand or fingers or like, I can't remember who it was on, but he didn't come out and go, oh, like reeling or anything. Yeah, Crichton wasn't reeling, probably because he missed half his finger. But it was such a stupid sin bin.
Like, I don't know. Like 10 in, and that's where I go, like, we are way too quick to send 10 in the bin. Like, this is an NRL game. Like, this matters. 10 minutes in the bin for that. What are your thoughts about the hip drop? Are you kind of the same one as me? Or
it all happened quickly. Hip drop, sure, Simeon. But the other one, by the way, if you haven't gone to Elliott Whitehead's Instagram,
it's hilarious.
Turn your volume up.
Oh my God.
It's gone. It's gone.
Sound on.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That sucks.
It is. That was elite content from Elliott Whitehead.
That's the best.
Because that
encapsulates the situation.
Yeah, and like that commentary is famous. It was from an old, like maybe Warrington and Hull game or something in England. It's just the most biased commentary of all time.
Sorry, my mistake. It's still there. It's still there.
Yeah, the big fella doesn't back down.
Because it does encapsulate, like, what a dramatic, like, 10 in the bin for, like, we've gotten to the point where a sin bin is almost expected in games now.
Yeah.
It used to matter. Like, sin bins used to be like, holy shit, that is like 10 in the bin. That's game changing.
Well, with the amount of sin bins there's been, realistically, one of them is probably going to decide a finals game. Statistically speaking, we've got, 9 of them. Nine finals games, and they're throwing out sin bins willy-nilly. There's probably going to be a side that concedes 2 tries in a tight game in a finals for a crap sin bin, and it could knock a team out of the
know what
competition.
is, like, I would almost make an argument against that, is because there are so many sin bins, at least teams are getting so good at defending with 12, which is backwards as you can possibly get. But because it is just happening all the time, like even when Whitehead got sin bin not once but twice, like that used to be, teams used to go into panic stations.
Yeah.
Teams don't, they just know what to do.
Yep. In regards to performances, I thought Tarpanir really took it to him. Like, once again, one of the best forward packs in the competition. Tarpanir goes, nah, I'm on that level. I'm absolutely on that level. I'm going at you all day long. I thought Hudson Young was great. Elliott Whitehead, before he obviously got sin bin, I thought he was outstanding. Just a really good battler's performance. I thought Hopewadi's work out of his own end. 20 runs, 166 metres, 71 post contact, 2 tackle breaks. I thought he was good. Just a gutsy win, an incredible win.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing is, like, it's hard to get too excited about it because you can't make the 8.
Yeah.
So part of you sitting there going, where was this? Where was this?
I'll tell you who's one that I don't think he gets enough praise for how good he's been this year. Morgan Smithy's coming over from the Super League. I was talking to people the other day about the best signings of the year, and I wouldn't have him as number 1 or anything, but fuck, he's been a good signing for the Raiders as far as he just fits their culture perfectly. I think people bring him down because he doesn't have a try assist. I think he's got maybe 2 tackle breaks for the year, 1 offload or something. He made 53 tackles on the weekend.
Well, like, when they're playing like this, you can afford to have him. The worry I have with Morgan Smithy is that, like, he's so one-dimensional that, like, can he, put it this way. If you had a player that was just all attack, you'd be like, well, mate, you need to work on your defence. And I think with Smithies, I just want to see a little, like, hasn't been bad at all. Like, he's the most honest player, arguably one of the most honest. He just gets through his work. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not. His defence is some of the best, he's probably a top 10 defender in the NRL.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just want to see a little bit more in attack. Just develop that part of his game. But he's been an absolute battler, and he's been good from all year long.
I think he's fit in perfectly with what they try and do and who they are. I think he's been great.
Timmy?
I think he's been solid. You nailed it, Kempy. He's as honest as they come. He gives you exactly what you're after and exactly what Ricky Stewart's after, and that's probably why he fits the mould of a Ricky Stewart forward. He just offers so little in attack for a big minute, starting 13, and it's like he's run for over 100 metres once since round 16, and that was 116 metres. Like, that's fine, but he's not a noted ball playing lock and all that. So I would be a little concerned if he's our starting 13 going into next year. That being said, he does what you ask of him.
And you can't ask, like, he, in the one area of the game that takes toughness and honesty and willing to do it for your mates, he's like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
What do you reckon his tackle efficiency is?
96?
Yeah, 97.
97. Bloody good.
Playing through the middle
Yeah.
like that, unbelievable.
But like then you look at a guy like Horsburgh. You know, obviously he had 10 runs, 71 metres, which isn't that crazy. But then he has 3 offloads, 39 tackles, 0 misses. Like he's a guy that I really felt last year was just so good in attack for you. So good in attack. But incredible win. Outstanding stuff by the Raiders. In regards to the Roosters, as I said, guys, we spoke about them a little bit earlier.
Just quickly, Roosters have released a thing. Radley will will commence non-operative management and then will be reviewed by a specialist. So,
okay, well, that's hopefully he can get
bit better.
I think Teddy was really good at the back there. He had 25 runs, 249 metres, 61 post contact, 10 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists. Couldn't have done much more. Anyone else stand out for the Roosters for you guys?
Mate, I just thought on that last play, Daniel Tupu, Christ, he did well to get that ball down. I know it didn't all matter in the end, but
He's been doing it for so long.
he's incredible. Yeah,
I thought Roosters as a whole, I thought they were really complacent going into this game. They did not want to get into the grind in the middle and do the hard yards. Like, you know, the old saying in rugby league, you have to earn the right to go wide and use your flanks. They just went side to side, expecting to go through us, and we just went, thank you. Like, that's not how you win games rugby league. I think if they got into the grind a little bit more through the middle, the opportunities would have opened up. I know they lost their 7, they lost their 9. Things went against them, but like the Raiders also lost Jordan Rapana 10 minutes into this game, their fullback, and had movements around. So on what I saw in that game, I reckon they went into it way too complacent.
Oh, definitely went into complacent. I'll tell you what, the story from the game, granted it's going to be the comments after the game in the press conference, the story of the game shouldn't be, like, the injuries are a big deal, but the story of the game should be the Raiders' incredible defence. The story of the game should be these guys just went to a premierships heavyweights home ground and absolutely defended their asses off, and they should have been beaten 13 plus. Like, the Roosters should have gone there, beat them 13 plus. Now, I just think the Roosters are waiting for finals footy. I think they're going to click. I don't think they're going to head into. I know a lot of people are very off the Roosters because they haven't managed to beat top tier sides, and I know they've obviously had some really key injuries, but I don't think that they're going to rock up to week 1 of the finals with the same attitude they've rocked up to against the Raiders here. I think they rocked up thinking they're just going to do what they did to the Titans last week, pretty much.
If nothing else, it's probably an ideal wake-up call for them heading into finals.
Has to be. So I think that, do they have what it takes to win a premiership? They've probably moved down a tier for me with the injuries. But are they going to be dangerous in finals footy? I do think so. I think there's going to be at least one game in that final series where they're going to really take it to a team with their physicality and their forward pack.
We'll see.
We'll see. We will see. Anything else on the Roosters, boys?
No.
As I said, guys, earlier in the show, we spoke about the Roosters quite a bit, so you just go and find that around Guru's Hot Takes. Alrighty, it is time for Face of Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet.
Do you want me to read them out?
Yes, please.
So, all right. So we got Broncos Storm. The line is 8.5. Storm, $1.34. Broncos, $3.29.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You know what? I'm just going to stick with them no matter what, baby. No matter what. Broncos for the win. Storm. Broncos for the win because
Melbourne 13 plus.
Ooh.
Oh, Backuru. I reckon Melbourne's 13 plus.
You dogs.
I'll go Storm, but I'll give Broncos a start.
Broncos to the death, baby, all the way to the bitter end.
Spoon Bowl. Para favourites, $1.64. Tigers, $2.27. The line is 3.5.
Oh, this is a tough one. You know what? I'm going Para. They looked red hot last week.
What's start?
3.5.
Para.
I'll go Para Tigers.
I'll go Para.
Para Tigers for me too. South Roosters. Roosters $1.28. South $3.73. The line's 10.5.
I'm going to go Roosters. Big bounce back game.
South upset.
Could you imagine if you picked Roosters?
I'll tell you what, the 10.5 is very appealing. I'll go
I'll go Roosters.
I'll go Roosters South. Dragons, Raiders. Dragons $1.62. Raiders $2.30. The line is 3.5.
It's hard to back against the bloody Raiders these days. What's the line again?
3.5.
Dragons.
I don't know if it matters anymore. Is Fogarty playing, or do we know?
Don't know. It was like a hamstring twinge.
Would you go?
Dragons.
Yeah, I'll go Dragons, Raiders.
I'll go Raiders.
I'll go Dragons, Raiders. Doggies versus Cowboys. Dogs are $1.71. Cowboys $2.14. The line is 2.5.
Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll go Cowboys too for an upset.
Doggies.
Doggies for me. Panthers, Titans. Panthers $1.13. Titans $6.05. The line is 16.5.
Panthers, Titans.
Panthers.
Panthers, Titans for me. Sharks. Manly then. Manly versus Sharks at Brookie. $1.81. Manly. Sharks $2.04. The line's 1.5.
Would you say 1.5? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sharks for the upset. Come on, boys. Come on.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go Sharks too.
No idea. I'll go Manly.
I'll go Manly as well.
With the line though.
I'll go Manly.
Manly. Knights, Dolphins. Knights $1.72. Dolphins $2.13. The line's 1.5.
Oh, this is so friggin' hard. I'll go Knights. Ponga.
Dolphins.
Knights.
There he is. There's Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. As usual, give the rule, follow, subscribe to his podcast, subscribe to Timmy's podcast, SC Playbook, Instagram, all that good stuff. As usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.